Happy Monday to you, man. Happy Monday to you. Welcome aboard. Thank you guys so much for stepping in with us as you do each and every single day. I thank you for making this one of the fastest growing shows in all of sports, and especially in Philadelphia. You guys need it today. You guys need it today. I'll tell you something, man. What I witnessed with the 76ers against the Celtics yesterday was an absolute crime. It was an absolute crime, man. Dude, I don't give a shit if you win an MVP award and you don't show up. Do you know that every single guy who has ever won the NBA's Most Valuable Player award has made a conference final in their career? You can't win a championship with Joel Embiid. You cannot win a championship with that guy. And quite frankly, it's an organizational thing. It's not just a Doc Rivers thing. The Folks deal, the Jimmy Butler decision, Ben Simmons. By the way, some of you can make all the excuses you want up for an organization. Let's just take a look at the Eagles compared to the Sixers and how they do business. One bad decision after another. Just one bad move after another. Can you imagine if Jalen Hurts played like that in the Super Bowl? Dude, man, it's just one bad decision. And Embiid throwing, what was it? James and I can't win. Others have to step up. Now, I'm going to take that he just doesn't understand what he said there, and he misspoke. So you threw your guys that you went to battle with all year long and your coach under a bus, and you thought that was cool after a devastating destruction like that? I said it on Friday. They had no shot of winning. I didn't know you'd get your faces kicked in. Dude, that MVP award looks stupid now. He looks dumb. 15 points. Hoss, you can't win a championship. You don't have the championship medal. You're not made of that cloth. You're just not. You're not a leader. You're not like Jalen Hurts. Dude, when I watch Joel Embiid, I don't see Jalen Hurts. I don't. And then you combine that with James Harden. Remember what I said about James Harden when he first came to Philly a year ago? This guy here has to change his narrative when it comes to his postseason resume. He hasn't. He's actually cemented it. Dude, there's guys in sports. Look at Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler takes his team to the NBA Eastern Conference Finals again. Again. Championship guys play like stars all the time. Some go like this. Well, Sills, Harden really played great for two. So what, man? If you're a Hall of Fame guy, welcome to the club that people are expecting you to show up each and every single night. Dude, now that Jalen Hurts makes his kind of money, you think throwing for 300 yards and getting beaten ball games is going to matter? No, it won't. No, it won't. Dude, when you are that guy or you're being dude, he's not the Joker. Joker's better than him. The Joker's better than him. He's better. By the way, wait a minute. If I had to win a 48-minute game or I had to win a championship game 7, Embiid's not the dude. I'm not taking him ever. I would never take that guy. Dude, at the end of the day, this guy abandoned his team at his press conference too. Instead of just taking it all on him. Dude, I guarantee you, if Jalen Hurts had played great in the, which he did, he would have took the entire blame for himself. That, hey, we didn't win a Super Bowl because of me. Because of me. That guy doesn't get it. He was so would you guys agree with this? This guy was so consumed with winning the NBA Most Valuable Player award, he completely forgot the number one objective. You know what that is? To win a title. I said that. He was going to have a letdown after he won the MVP, and he did. He put all of his energy this year into winning the Most Valuable Player award. And when it mattered, Jason Tatum took over. Had one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Game 7 I've ever seen, including MJ. Dude, he took that team and put it on his back. By the way, they got rid of a cancer a couple of years ago in Kyrie Irving. Shit, man. Brown and Tatum look spectacular together. I mean, really. Dude, but it's a Sixer thing. It's an organization. They don't have that with the Eagles. The Eagles have none of that. They have none of that dynamic. None of that dynamic in their front office. Coach gets it, GM gets it, owner gets it. Owner doesn't get it with the Sixers. They shit the bed for a decade to get this. Really? Dude, you can. As far as I'm concerned, you're not going nowhere with Joel Embiid. You're not going anywhere. Great player, superstar player. But when it matters, just like James Harden, just like Kevin Durant, those guys aren't leaders, man. Kevin Durant, James Harden. You know what this actually does? I think this enhances guys like Jordan and guys like Kobe to show you actually how hard, Steph Curry, to show you how hard actually it is to win a championship. You can have all the immense talent on the planet like KD, Joel Embiid, James Harden. But if you don't have the mettle to be a champion, you'll never duplicate what Kobe did. It's just, there's different guys. You know, I'll never look at Joel Embiid in the same light as anyone else of those, like Jabbar. Come on, man. I can't wait to talk to Rick Barry in hour number 3. Our talk with Gary Cobb, we'll talk to him in hour number 2, 4:30 Eastern. Dude, this is about championship. This is about building a great culture. This is why the Eagles are so careful who they bring into their organization. Totally, man. This is such a great example of why the Eagles are the best organization in Philadelphia. Maybe in all of sports. The Sixers show you, man. Mistake after mistake after mistake. The drafting of folks, like I said. The decision on Butler. The Ben Simmons draft choice. The trading for Harden. Have they made one deal that was right? Where the Eagles make deals every single offseason to put them in a position to win a championship. I'll tell you this, man. The Eagles don't just try to win NFC championships. They're trying to win Super Bowls. They're trying to win Super Bowls, man. First thing I thought about was how great the organization in Philly is in football versus that Sixer organization. It's a cultural thing. They can't make a decision to save their life. And then you got an MVP coming out going, James and I can't win a championship by ourselves. Excuse me? Dude, what a shitty teammate. What a shitty teammate. Man, if you said something like that to me after a devastating destruction like that, and you thought that was cool, I'd really like to know where you're coming from with that. Why would you throw your guys under the bus like that? Or maybe you're just not self-aware of what you said. I think there's a little of both to that. Man, that's a terrible look. That's a terrible look. I don't get it. Dude, that's on you. That is totally on you. That loss and that Game 7, you'll never live that down. You know how LeBron doesn't live that meltdown that he had against the Magic down when he walked off the court? Or what happened in the Dallas series? He never lives that down. Even in losses that Jordan had. You know, Jordan's greatest postseason performance was in a loss to the Celtics when he went for 63. And you're like, hey, man, one thing you could say about MJ, MJ's showing up every night. He can't help it if some other dude doesn't show up. But you got to elevate your guys. Man. Butler move. Falk's draft along with Simmons. Sixers are a shitty organization. And it starts at the top. That's why the Eagles are constantly in a position to win. You know why? They get it right at the top. That's why they're able to hire all these people, assistant coaches. Look at all the general managers in the National Football League right now. Barry in Cleveland, Douglas in New York. You got a guy that was the number 2 guy in Philadelphia. He's now the number 2 guy in Pittsburgh. There's a reason for that shit. There's a reason, man. You got good front office people, coaches making right decisions. Hey, you may not agree with everything Howie does and the meddling sometimes and the overstepping of his bounds, but I'll tell you one thing, they do win. I'll say it one more time to you. Do you know the Eagles, since Andy Reid left, they haven't had one coach with a losing record, including shitbag Chip Kelly. He doesn't have a losing record as a head coach with the Eagles. Was it successful? But that shows you their floor of what success is. Chip's not good enough. He still didn't have a losing record. Can't say that about your Sixers. Dude, what a terrible organization. I don't know, man. You could battle back and forth right now. At least the Flyers are coming out of the Ed Snyder era, and you kind of get it. It's not the same. And they're trying to right the ship now. Right? They're trying to right it now. But Philadelphia, with Josh Harris as the owner, this guy don't give a shit about the Sixers. And by the way, for the record, that guy should sell his basketball team to someone that's completely diverse from the NFL. How could you sit there and lie to your fans and say that you give a shit about Philly fans when you now have a team that could stop the Eagles from potentially getting to the Super Bowl? Last year, remember, Washington beat you. How do you sit there and lie to the Sixer fans, and how do you lie to Philadelphia sports fans going, hey, I love you? And then you got a team that you're going to battle against twice a year, and you're in the division to boot. Seals, you're absolutely right. I can't watch sports because it's rigged for money. These professionals mostly don't care, and it's a crime in sports. Give a shit about the regular season. Seriously, Josh Harris, so he owns the Washington Commanders. Okay, as of today, he's the Commanders owner now. They've cut a deal now. And so what he's going to do is, get this, he's going to bring a team down to Lincoln Financial, and you're going to have to go up to that shithole that you have in Landover, and that guy could potentially stop you from having home field advantage, and he's going to be selling tickets against you. Then he's going to turn around and go, hey, I love you, by the way. Buy Sixer tickets, and our organization's a shitbag. Sorry, dude. I don't believe you. It's one thing if they were in the AFC. I might be cool with that, but you're in the NFC East. Josh Harris, owner of the Sixers, you need to sell your team. Because nobody in Philly, hey, you could probably get away with that in New York or in Los Angeles because nobody gives a shit. They're not great sports fans there. But you're not going to get away with that in Philadelphia. You're not. I don't believe you. I wouldn't buy a fucking hot dog from you. You think I'm going to walk into Wells Fargo and buy a hot dog from you and you're going to send the Commanders down to try to beat us? Get the hell out of here, guy. I'm sorry. I'm an old school guy. I look at shit like that. I'm not doing that. That guy don't give a shit about me. Come on, man. That ain't working for me. Okay? Hey, let me sell tickets to the Sixer fans. Oh, wait. I got a team that weekend coming in to beat your ass. Oh, yeah, okay. I bet you really love us here in Philly. Give me a break, man. Cue ball. Don't worry about the 40 whiners. Don't worry about the 40 whiners. The crying Niners on the road to therapy, Big Sills. You the man. Think you missed my first super chat, but no worries. Love you, man. Thank you very much. I think we nailed them all so far. Xander, make sure we get them up there. Cry Niners crying on the road to therapy. The 40 whiners and their crying-ass coach. Hey, well, I'm really glad we're playing them later in the year so I can have all my guys. Won't matter, dude. Your quarterback will be killed by week 10 anyway because you can't protect them. You're a stiff of a coach and you're overrated. Who you shitting? You think Kyle Shanahan's a better coach than Jim Harbaugh? I don't. I don't. I don't think that guy's well, he puts Deebo Samuel in the jet sweeps and does all this and that. Oh, great. What's it got you? Ungats. Go to South Philly and ask an Italian what ungats means. Come on, man. Don't worry, Chicken Wing Purdy. He won't make the year. Hey, listen, I get on Jalen Hurts for not making the year. There's not a chance that paper mache Purdy ain't making it through the rest of the season. He ain't getting through a 17-game season. Not with that coach protecting you. Yeah. Notice Sills didn't say Sirianni. What? Sirianni? What? At least Sirianni prepares his football team. And by the way, for the record, that's not a Doc Rivers thing. How could you blame Doc Rivers for your center and your MVP shitting the bed? I don't give a shit about Doc Rivers. Dude, go win a game. It's on you. This is player accountability. That's like blaming a batting coach or a D-line coach because you missed the tackle. It's the most ridiculous media-made thing on the planet. Hey, the D-line coach sucks. Really? How many tackles does he make a game? Or do you think maybe it's the 3 stiffs you have in there? Hey, the hitting instructor for the Phillies sucks. Give me a break. Are you kidding? So if Harper goes 0 for 25, it's the hitting coach's fault? It's the dumbest shit on the planet. Come on, man. Sills bone in or let me see. I like skinless, boneless chicken, so I'll go skinless, boneless, Purdy chicken. Purdy chicken. It'll be skinless, boneless, Purdy chicken at Lincoln Financial later in the year, 13 or 14 week, whatever it is. Come on, man. And by the way, one more time before we move on here. Dude, end of the day, man, Josh Harris, sell that team. You have no right to own the Sixers and the Commanders and try to tell Philly fan that you're going to sell tickets to the Commanders and then you're going to turn around and try to sell a bunch of bullshit to Philly fans. Hey, I love you guys. And then the Eagles are in town that week. You're like, yeah, come on, man. Nobody's stupid in that city. Okay? They may be nuts in Philly, but they ain't stupid. See, that guy Josh Harris thinks you're like a wrestling fan. Hey, it's only NBA. And he thinks you're stupid. But then most owners think you're stupid. Like most owners think players are stupid. We got a bunch of topics today. And I want to start this off because I think this John Morant thing has a lot that we could tie in with Jalen Carter. Okay? I think this has a lot to tie in here with both guys here. And I'm going to come at a different angle with you. And by the way, can you promise me this? This is a discussion. Okay? This is a discussion that most people don't want to have. Okay? It's a discussion. It's not a political view. Sills, Phillies, Eagles are good organizations. Flyers and Sixers haven't won anything in over 2 decades. It's sad. As a Philly fan, they need to wake up. You know what's funny? They use your emotions against you. Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, San Francisco. There's probably 15 great cities that just love their teams no matter what. And I commend you. I honor you. I told you this, I'm not an Eagle fan, but I do love the fans in that city. They get on Big Sills. They give me shit. We go back and forth every day, and I'm good with you guys. That's the kind of sports talk I like. The Phillies ace, that's the kind of people I like talking to. Hey, you're full of shit, Sileo. Hey, Sills, you got this one right. Dude, that's you and me pulling a bar stool up at a bar and having a conversation like Xander and I talk about. Okay? You guys are fabulous to talk to every day. All right. I want to get into a very difficult conversation that no one will have with you. And I want to start it off, and I want to preface this. So that piece of shit, Mike Wilbon, and many of the people in the media are now going after John Morant. Mike Wilbon's the same guy that called out Sean Taylor and said that I'm not surprised Sean Taylor got killed. Not knowing Sean Taylor and what happened that night. They had no information, nothing. Colin Cowherd, too. If you go back, I even posted something on my Twitter page. He was protecting his girlfriend, who he was going to marry, actually Andy Garcia's niece, from a home invader. One of my teammates, George Myra Jr., was there when he passed away and watched him bleed to death. I knew Sean very well. And he went to the University of Miami. Went after the program, the media did. Went after the program and went after the kid. Didn't know shit. I never heard anybody apologize. Okay? This is going to tie into Jalen Carter here in a minute. So bear with me here. I'm going to come at it in a different angle here than most do. John Morant over the weekend caught again in a situation where he was flashing a gun. And I had a conversation with my wife about it. You know, what's the difference between John Morant flashing a gun on Instagram and a politician flashing a gun when they're doing political speeches or they go on IG and they go on commercials or the media picks it up? I would say this to you. The difference is this. Athletes are more impressionable to young kids. So there is a dynamic to that I have to be careful on. Kids are very impressionable. When they see something like that, or they see the behavior of people, especially idols, because let's face it here, most kids that are athletes come from single-parent homes, and they look at these guys as motivating factors on trying to get their life maybe to get to where they are. And they see them, kids and everyone is impressionable. So you have to be very careful not to just blow this thing off. Is it a good look for the NBA? Absolutely not. To have one of its superstars not having good character for kids to see. I get that. It's totally true. It's a bad look. At the end of the day, though, let's go down this line here. Is this a Second Amendment conversation? What law did John Morant break? Really none. We don't know the context of the IG, but everyone's rushing to judgment on it. He's been suspended, okay? Probably rightfully so, until you find out. Let's remember what we found out about Matt Ariza? Including me, I'm guilty of that. Jumping the gun before the facts came out. Guy's been exonerated, vindicated. I'm not saying John Morant hasn't had issues in his past. Completely not saying that. But before you indict somebody and stereotype somebody, be careful. Be careful. Because you could be bringing more attention to this. Is it a good look for the? Absolutely not. Young black athlete, NBA star. Be careful, white media guys. You've never walked in the shoes of anybody who's grown up and went through different times than you and different experiences than you. I'd be very careful how I covered this case. Be very careful. I am not saying in any way he should not be spoken to because it's a bad look. But let's not turn this into a political conversation like we do every time there's a mass shooting in this country. Okay? Let's not turn this into a gun issue. It's a bad judgment issue. That's what this is. Or is it? This is a judgment issue. But what you have now is the media making it a gun issue. My problem with John Morant is not the gun. My problem with John Morant is the bad decision making. I'm going to get to Jalen Carter here in a minute. Okay? This is bad decision making. That's where this needs to stay. It's not a gun issue. But people are freaked out because there's a gun in the picture. Gives no other people opportunities to jump on that side and turn it into something it's not. Okay? Careful. Now let's take this over on what the responsibility of the Memphis Grizzlies and what the Philadelphia Eagles are when it comes to players that you might have some issues on when it comes to character. How much of the responsibility of this is now this on the Memphis Grizzlies? And the Eagles have a player now that they're concerned about decision-making. I heard the general manager of the Chicago Bears over the weekend saying, there's no way we could have taken Jalen Carter. We don't have the culture for that in Chicago. Wow. Culture for what? His immaturity? Okay. So the Eagles drafted an immature player. And they feel their culture, and I do too, can handle this. What's the responsibility of the organizations to keep an eye on Jalen Carter? Or the Memphis Grizzlies on John Morant? I think a lot. Here's why. You represent us. Hey, dude, you can flash a gun all you want, but you can't flash a gun. Like here, if I pulled a pistol out right now and I put it out there, JAKIB Sports would get backlash that you wouldn't believe. Why would I bring that on them? They would be forced to make a decision because you know why? Advertisers would start getting hammered and I represent them or one of the people that represents them. You as an athlete have to be cognizant of that. You have to be cognizant of the fact that you represent a company that's in the media. Now, if you're your own entity and you're Elon Musk, you could be your own guy because why? You have FU money. You could do whatever you want because you're your master of your own moat. But we're all worker bees. As an athlete, your responsibility is to represent not only yourself. This is what makes Jalen Hurts special. He knows who he is. John Morant doesn't, and Jalen Carter has to figure it out. I can come out here and say some of the most racist and incredible things that are the most offensive things on the planet. And I would be fired. I wouldn't get to the next segment. You know why? JAKIB has a responsibility to you to give you great content and to not give you hate speech or have someone represent them that doesn't represent them in the right light. They have every right to do that. They own the B. They own it. Just like the NBA owns the Memphis Grizzlies and the Eagles own their football team. Jeffrey Lurie owns his football team. He has every right to set the guardrails. Your freedom of speech has no place on IG or on any platform. If you work for somebody, you just can't come out and do what you feel like it and call it your First Amendment rights. Okay, hey, Jalen, Carter, you have every right to have your First Amendment, just not on my time. That's the stuff with Kaepernick and all. Dude, you have every right to be a political activist, just not on my dime. That's not what we do here. That's my angle on John Morant. Should he be suspended? Absolutely. You know why? Not for the gun. For the misrepresentation of the NBA, of what we're requiring. You have to have some parameters. You have to have some guidelines on what you want your employees to represent your company as. It's not the gun. It's poor decision-making. And the fact that you didn't represent us in the right light. My consumers are kids too, buy sneakers. My fear is, again, it goes off into the gun. More people are offended by the gun than the kid's poor decision-making. That's a shame. Because he needs a maturity class, not a gun class. He needs to understand that. So, the Eagles' responsibility on Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter starts not representing the Philadelphia Eagles in the right light and what they think he should represent. They have every right to suspend him, fire him, put tougher guardrails on him than any other player in that building. They absolutely do. They have every right to do that. And if they're questioning his decision-making, they have every right to put more parameters and more restrictions on him than, say, they do on Jordan Davis. Because you're representing us. You don't like it? You don't have... Hey, remember something about the NFL draft. This is not a military draft. This is not mandatory. You don't have to show up. You don't have to show up. Okay? There's already the idea that NBA players are thugs. Dang. And that's the white media putting that out there that way. Okay? Black kids with a ton of money, and you can't have that. Most of these men are really great business. Look at LeBron, man. He's a sensational businessman. John Morant has had bad parents. Hey, don't tell me about bad parents. I've had no parents. I was raised by my grandparents and my aunt. Don't use that as a shitbag excuse for character. Well, you didn't grow up with good. So what? You don't get sympathy with me with that. Really? Stand in line behind me. Well, he didn't really have great parents. JM, that's an excuse for not having good character. Every time I hear that, I'm like, my wife and I both didn't have that. And we look at that and go, yeah, whatever. Okay? Whatever. Nolan Smith, what a great example of a leader and someone that I'm so rooting for. I am so rooting for Nolan Smith. I love that kid. Commands a room. His presence is felt. You see why people in Georgia love the kid. Okay? Really great. I love the guy. I'm rooting for him. Rooting for him. Okay? All right. Let's move off of that. So, like I said, we got a bunch of topics. Don't forget, Gary Cobb, 4:30, as always, on Monday. Rick Barry, talk a little NBA playoffs as we get ready for the conference finals. That'll be in hour 3, 5:30. One of the top 20 greatest players of all time will join us, and we'll get his pen. By the way, he is not going to be kind on Doc Rivers. I already know that. He is not going to be kind on Doc Rivers. Sills, I feel like Carter could learn from Nolan Smith. Wheels, I think Jalen Carter knows he has an opportunity at greatness. It's up to him. By the way, one more time. If Jalen Carter falls on his face and he doesn't succeed in Philadelphia, that's on the kid. It's not on the Eagles. I will never bang on them because that kid shit the bed. Because he has too much talent. And I'm with Jason Kelsey. You just can't pass on that. It's up to the kid. This is not Jalen Reagor. This is Jalen Carter. This kid actually has talent. And if he fails, on him. On him 100%. He's coming into a great culture, a great organization, people that have worked with him in the past and play. Dude, how many places do you get all the stars lining up? A coach who recruited you, players who you played with in college and won national championships with, an organization who's coming off an NFC championship game and about 11 minutes away from winning a Super Bowl, an organization who trusts you. How many times do you get all those great dynamics? You don't. You don't. This is the best situation on the planet for Jalen Carter to walk into. Sills, it's more about the money for business over character. And remember, what sells and it's promoted, it's negativity and drama depending on the situation. Money is the root of it all, too. It is the Phillies because you believe you're a narcissist and you believe nothing can touch you. Trust me when I tell you that. When you have all that money and all that fame and all of a sudden you're propelled into a situation where you're considered one of the faces of the league, where you're considered one of the faces of the team, there's no question that you become oblivious to things around you that you should care more about. That again, look at John Morant and then look at Jalen Carter. And then look at Jalen Hurts. Look at John Morant and look at Jalen Hurts. Both guys make pretty much the same money, $250 million. What guy do you want to have as the face of your franchise? Jalen Hurts or John Morant? That's why the Eagles are so... John Morant, you know what he does for the Eagles organization and for Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie? He validates that money and justifies their faith in him more and more and more and more when you see situations like that. You know, he makes like $240 million. There's a guy making $255. What guy will you want to have as your face of your franchise? What guy would you want to have as the face of your franchise? That's why the Eagles look at that and go, that's why we have Jalen Hurts. That's why we have Jalen Hurts. Okay? Jalen Hurts gets it. Total role model. Total face of a franchise. All right, let's move on. I'm hearing reports that this week or as we get closer to June 1, Dalvin Cook's going to be cut. Would you have any interest in Dalvin Cook joining the running back group? So if you could get DeAndre Swift and Dalvin Cook and have those two guys as your running backs, that to me is better than Bijan Robinson, having those two guys. And if he gets cut, you don't have to pay him the money that he's making in Minnesota. I believe they're going to cut him. Would you pay $5 million for that guy? I would. Can you imagine having DeAndre Swift and Dalvin Cook behind Jalen Hurts? Holy shit. And you know what you would do to Jalen Hurts? The production that he would have, instead of 17 carries for 75 yards, it'd be 7 carries for 75 yards. I mean, once you're cut, you think that guy's getting a $10 million contract by somebody out there like the Dolphins? Not happening. You put Dalvin Cook behind Jalen Hurts with DeAndre Swift, you'll have the best running back tandem in the NFL overnight. So then for the first time, you would have elite players at every freaking offensive position on your team. Unbelievable. You'd have the best duo wideouts. You'd have the best tackle tandem. You'd have the best center. You'd have one of the top 5 quarterbacks. And you would have the best duo in the NFL at running back with Dalvin Cook and with DeAndre Swift. How is that not worth the investment? And by the way, when people go like this to me, well, the Eagles don't really put a value on linebacker and running back. Guys, you don't have Patrick Mahomes. The lesser team won the freaking Super Bowl. You need to have elite players to beat that. Look, there's 2 quarterbacks the Eagles have to beat this year that they can't and haven't. It's Dak and Mahomes. The rest of them, I'll take the Eagles against the Bills. I'll take the Eagles against the Niners. I'll take the Eagles against Minnesota. I'll take the Eagles against Seattle. I'm good with that. Dak and Mahomes. Those are the 2 quarterbacks you can't beat. Be elite everywhere. Well, they don't put a premium on linebackers and running backs and safeties. That's funny. That's why premium quarterbacks beat the shit out of you. That's why they beat the crap out of you every time they play you. You're going to run the same system according to Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni. Seattle owns us, actually? Really? Well, I'm all right. I'll take Jalen versus 1 year Geno. I'll take that bet. Geno's had a great renaissance up in Seattle. He totally has. Okay? He's completely had a great year, but I want to see him do it again too as well. We already have 5 running backs. No, you don't. That if you've got 5 running backs, JM, you don't have 1. Last year you had 1. 1,300 yards, 11 touchdowns. Cut him. Rashad Penny. Cut him. Cut him. Kenneth Gainwell is a dude. The Boston kid is a dude. It's the only position. Actually, you know, you guys are pretty right. You're pretty mediocre at positions you guys don't give a shit about. Running back, linebacker, and safety. We'll see what the draft brought us. But that's yet to be determined too. That's yet to be determined too. Okay? Because they can't draft a safety to save their life. They can't draft corners and they can't draft linebackers, which they never have. For that matter, important edge rushers. Everybody's a free agent. I still think Howie's going to make some moves come June 1 when it comes to the linebacker position. Probably some trades. They need some more experience at the linebacking position. Okay? They need linebackers. We'll see what the kid Brown brings. I've got great faith that I think he could be a starter. Kenyatta says you're 100% right about these 2 quarterbacks kicking our butts on a regular basis. Absolutely. Dak's 8-3, 7-1 in the last 8, and Mahomes is 2-0 against them. Yeah, but Jalen's outplayed him. It didn't matter. He wins. Oh, you're going to throw, oh, I see. So you're going to throw me the Kirk Cousins stats. He's got better stats again. Not really even, too. Because you also have Andy Reid in the room there in Kansas City. And your so-called greatest play caller in the NFL last year. I disagree with John McMullen about that 100%. RPO is not a quarterback, or it's not an offensive quarter. That's not an offensive coordinator making calls. Offensive coordinators don't make that call. The decision-making on the field takes away the progression reading. He's got decisions to make. Keep it, run it, throw it. Where's the play call in that? It's on Jalen. Shane Steichen had no bearing on that. That's why Hurts is making that money. See, you're not going to see the drop-off with Steichen going to Indianapolis that you saw with Reich going to Indianapolis when he left Philly that you did with Wentz. You're not going to see that. You're not going to see that drop-off like that. Because the actual play caller is the quarterback in the decision-making in the RPO. Like I said, think about it. When Hurts is at the line of scrimmage, say you have a play called in your head, and it's a play to throw the ball, and it's an RPO. Jalen hikes it, sees the guy in the corner, decides to keep it instead of throwing it, and he runs. Who made the play call? Coordinator or the quarterback? The quarterback made the call or made the decision. Made the decision. For real, Sills, please use that same energy this fall when Jalen just wins. Don't throw stats at the Bird fans. I didn't last year. Jalen Hurts, his passing numbers are pedestrian compared to the other guys who are passers in the league. But see, he's a unique talent. I said this to you. Nobody in the NFL runs the RPO system better than Jalen Hurts. Nobody. And that includes the guy in Baltimore. But if you're dissecting and breaking down situations when you're talking to me about a thrower versus another thrower, he's not Justin Herbert. He'll never be. He's not Josh Allen. He'll never be. But could he win more? Of course. The comparison is Brady versus Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers is a better thrower. He's a better talent. Who's the better quarterback? Who's the guy you want to have win a game? Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady? Doesn't matter. Peyton Manning couldn't jump over a stack of quarters. But who would you want in a game that mattered? Peyton Manning or Aaron Rodgers? Common sense. Common sense. Dank goes, Jalen's stats are very similar to Josh Allen. Yeah, so was his winning. He won 14 games too. By the way, he's not, stop it, Dank. And I'm not going down that road. Dank, Jalen Hurts does not throw the ball like Josh Allen. The only people in the planet who think that are the people in Philly. If you lined up 32, watch this, Dank. If you lined up 32 or 31 general managers, who would you take? Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts? 31 of them would go with the guy in Buffalo. Facts. If you lined up 30, maybe 2 GMs, they would take the guy in Cincinnati. Again, he's a unique talent. Leave it there. Leave it there. And by the way, one more time, that guy's got more to prove than Jalen Hurts this year. He's got to be way less reckless. Cost his team home field last year. Okay? Cost his team home field with that stupid fumble against Minnesota. Jalen's not reckless with the ball. Brady wasn't reckless. He didn't throw. You know the similarities between, it's funny, there's a lot of similarities between Brady and Jalen. You know what they both don't do? Throw high percentage turnover plays. They don't run high percentage turnover plays. Look at Brady's numbers last year. You guys say he sucked. I think he had nine picks, 800 attempts almost. Twice as many attempts as Jalen. Brady doesn't turn the ball over. That's what kills games. Turning the ball over. Colin, I'll never kill Jalen for the fumble in the Super Bowl. Okay? Of course Buffalo plays a tougher schedule. They're in the AFC. You're not taking, hey, by the way, this is why I say, yeah, Jameson, we're going to find out in 2023, you're actually playing people that you can't beat usually, which are great quarterbacks. Last year, you took on a village of idiots at the quarterback position. A village. This year, you're taking on the elite guys. Why? You're playing against the best teams in the NFL because you have the toughest schedule. 2023 is going to define and validate that contract or not. Well, we're going to find out a lot. I don't think we should compare Jalen to any other. No, you're right, Weapon. He's a one of. And I love the other part of that until he's done it more consistently. 1 year, exactly. He's done it one season. One season only. One season only. I'd pump the brakes a bit. Dude, like I said yesterday or on Friday, if Jalen Hurts goes 12-5 with the schedule, he's playing a top-ranked schedule in the NFL, and he's beating these elite guys, it'll do more for his perception on how the league. I'm going to make a point to you. I'm going to make a point to you about the 2023 season in Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. If Jalen Hurts beats those elite quarterbacks, gets back to the Super Bowl, and wins it, he'll be the face of the league. He'll be the face of the league. Because there's nobody that you could. And I could see him taking on Burrow in the Super Bowl. Burrow and Mahomes. Well, he's going to take on Mahomes in the regular season at Arrowhead. This season is going to be a defining point in him on how people look at him, not just in Philly, but around the league, going against Allen, going against the Jets. By the way, the NFL thinks the Eagles are cool, but started you out on the road against Belichick. They have more respect for Belichick than for Jalen and the Eagles, and they won the freaking NFC. The NFL and Park Avenue have more respect for the Jets than the Eagles. You know why? It underscores the quarterback and the importance. Look at that schedule. Look at the NFL schedule, and you tell me. All the primetime premium games all have the elite guys in it. If you don't have an elite dude on your team, NFL doesn't give a shit what your record is. You see, the Cowboys sell themselves. NFL looks at the Cowboys. Dude, seriously, Quincy Carter could be the starting quarterback in Dallas, and no one would give a shit. If Quincy Carter's the starting quarterback in Philly or Nate Peterman, because you guys had a look at him that one game, I mean, no one's gonna care. Jalen will be so defined. And by the way, the thing we started to show out with all the stuff with Morant and Jalen Carter and his character, his story, all of that, the money, man, it's a shining moment for him and his dude. Jalen Hurts' 2023 year will be the most significant year in his professional and his amateur football career because he's got the money. He's got the admiration. Now he has to do something that Joel Embiid can't do. Deliver. And just showing up to the Super Bowl and putting your name on the test, that doesn't count. No one gives a shit about second place in this country. That's for places like Iran, Iraq, Canada, Russia, Japan, China. Not in America. Nobody gives a shit about number 2. Nobody cares. We root for champions in this country. Hey, man, I'll tell you what, we really had a great showing. Great showing? Hey, here's your commemorative I don't give a shit medal. You know where it goes? In the commode. Nobody cares about that. Well, Jalen got, and by the way, do me a favor. Eagle fans, stop bringing up you got to the Super Bowl and you got beat. That's not an endorsement. That's not an endorsement for Hurts. Well, Jalen got him to a Super Bowl. So did Trent Dilfer, Jimmy Garoppolo, the greatest substitute teacher of all time, Nick Foles. Stop that. Well, we got there. Okay. Great. I got to Mount Everest. I see the summit, but I fell off the mountain. Yeah, but you got to give me credit for at least getting to the summit. That's not how it works. I mean, that's not how it works. You got to deliver. When you get that kind of money, you got to deliver. Nobody roots for number 2. You know, Sills, Eagles haters bringing up the bowl way more than Eagle fans. Really? Every time there's a conversation about Hurts being compared to the rest of the quarterbacks in the NFL, the first thing that is brought up by Eagle fan, well, we got to the Super Bowl. I doubt that, man. Because if you're putting statistics up and individual accomplishments, he's nowhere near Lamar Jackson yet. Lamar's a year older than him. That guy was a consensus MVP in the era of Brady, Rodgers, Breeze, Mahomes. He won that award when those guys were still playing and balling. Consensus. Only Manning in league history has a consensus MVP. Yeah, but he didn't get to the Super Bowl. I know. Yeah, I know. Someone goes like this, so will they win it this year? I don't think you have the depth, but I think Howie will rectify it. Dude, there's one thing that I have learned about your Eagles and about your GM. They're getting better drafting players. 17 of the 22 starters that you have on your team now over recent years have been drafted, which is a remarkable number. You know, since 2000, you don't have the greatest draft record, but it's improved a lot. My question, and I don't really have a question on this, because I think Howie's still going to put people on that 90-man roster. I don't think that thing is solidified yet. I think your depth level in your O-line's a little suspect. I think you need a little more in your DTs. You clearly need work at linebacker still. And you're inexperienced in the safety position, which I think Howie will address June 1. But I do think, again, this time last year, you know what I was saying? Xander's with me now. You know what I was saying last year, this time? I think the Eagles have the deepest roster in the league. I think they have the deepest roster in the league. I think San Francisco does right now. Okay? But remember something, what I was saying also about the Eagles. We didn't know how good Jalen was going to play. Shit, man. They went out and got 2 first-rounders. For what reason? To draft a quarterback this year. That's what they got the 2 ones for. They weren't even sure. Well, now they are. Obviously, the money speaks to their commitment. San Francisco's in the same position that Philadelphia was last year. The only question is that they don't have a guy. They kind of have a guy at quarterback. They kind of have a guy. One's hurt, and the other one sucks. I think he sucks. Okay? Trey Lance may turn out to be the next Cam Newton. But on May 15th right now, I mean, this guy right now looks like a Fig Newton, not Cam Newton. Joel Embiid, Lamar Jackson. I don't know what that means. Lamar Jackson's actually a great ball player. Joel Embiid is Casper the Ghost. Casper the Ghost. Big games, he turns into Kirk Cousins. He's the NBA version of Kirk Cousins. Big games, don't have Embiid show up because he won't. Because he won't. Yeah, Seals, but did you see how well he played this year? Great. What do we need to fix with special teams? Matt Araiza. Bring a field-changing player in. Matt Araiza could change your special teams with one kick. You have a 3-and-out on your own 10, and he puts it inside the 5-yard line on the opposing team's 5. Is that a weapon? I think so. Oh, but again, remember, there's a lot of snowflakes in Philly. You know, this guy was accused. I know, accused. I know. I got it. Do your homework, guy. You ever hear of it? Stop pretending you're a journalist. because you want to be an opinionist like me. I get it. That's when journalists lose their stripes with me, is when they pretend that they're journalists and then they start doing shit like that. Well, I don't feel you're sorry enough, Jalen Carter. Oh, what are you, Dr. Phil? Yeah, you guys got a bunch of Dr. Phils that do press conferences with the Eagles and Sixers. Then they turn around and call themselves journalists. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I have no respect for people like that. None. You're a journalist or you're not. Very few are. Snowflakes. Matt Ariza. You know, I was listening to his attorney over the weekend, and they're putting a class action suit against San Diego State for ruining his reputation. And do you know San Diego State University wants to settle with him? He may not have to try to get a tryout again. University's going to settle with him. That kid's going to make some money, man. They're going to settle with him. His attorney goes like this. They've offered us a settlement, but we haven't taken it yet. But hey, he's like this, we're lining them up right now. That's why I'm telling you, always be careful what you say, man. Xander's already had a conversation with me. You see, I got to make sure I put all my phrases right. And, I took a couple English classes, so I'm learning how to write phrases now. I'm good. Yeah. Hey, Gary Cobb will join us at 4:30. We will talk with our friend from Fox 29 in Philadelphia, and also Rick Barry, man. He's going to light Doc Rivers on fire. I know he is. In hour number 3, I have another topic. Dude, I got a ton of topics here. Got a fun topic here. Also, something else. I'm going to give you my predictions on all 32 teams on what their records are going to be in 2023. I did all 32. I looked at after the draft, after free agency. I'm going to do that. Please hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
This is Governor Ed Rendell urging you to vote for my friend Judge Pat Dugan for Superior Court. I appointed Judge Dugan in 2007 to the Philadelphia Municipal Court, where he now serves as its president judge. Pat is a proud Army veteran of 23 years. He served 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's also recommended by the Philadelphia Bar Association. But most importantly, he bleeds Eagles green and hates those Dallas Cowboys. So get out and vote for number 3, Judge Pat Dugan for Superior Court.
Paid for by Dugan 2023.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sills, National Football Show. Devonta Smith gets his Philadelphia sports card taken from him. He gets his Philadelphia sports card taken from him until Big Sills decides we give it back to him. But as of May 15th, you're no longer allowed to be a Philadelphia sports fan. Sorry, Devonta. You can't be cheering on Jason Tatum and tweeting at him. That's how you respond, brother. That's how you go. Your Philadelphia sports card's revoked officially, okay? You're no longer allowed to root for any Philadelphia sports teams other than the one you're on. You're out. Okay? Right. Ring the bell, and then he kisses Tatum's ass. Dude, what's up with that city with the owner and Devonta Smith? These guys are Judases. You talk about Benedict Arnolds. Holy shit. Maybe I'm too old school. Hey, maybe that's how you youngsters, maybe that's how you guys roll, man. Loyal to the soil, though. Holy cow. I mean, where's your loyalty, man? That's how you respond. Then they let the dude ring the bell. This is the athlete version of Josh Harris. That's who Devonta Smith is. Hey, Philly sports fan, I love you. Don't you own the Commanders too? Yeah, but I love you. I promise. I love it. Talk about cheating. Holy cow, man. Sorry, man. You get your man card yanked from you. He's tweeting at Jason Tatum. That's how you respond. He likes winners. Can you blame him? Dog. That's what Xander says. Xander, of all people, talk about a guy who loves people who are loyal. Holy cow. Man, see what's happening to Xander? He's becoming a big business guy now. Got his hair fixed differently. He's not like me or you any longer. You know, he hangs out like at the big clubs now, like at the Blue Martini, drinking martinis now. You and me are beer drinkers. Yeah. That's what happens when you make a lot of money, become like, you know, real big and shit. You know, me and you are just blue collar guys. Xander's not like management now. I'm just like you guys, man. Man, this guy gets his car taken from him. Absolutely. Hey, by the way, you see what the highest price ticket is so far for week 1? Devontae's a Celtics fan? Here. Isaiah, let's just say this. Say he is. Don't tell people in Philly, or don't let people in Philly see that. Dude, that's know the room. Okay? Know the room. No, like, seriously, would you, here, Isaiah, let me ask you this. If you lived in Philadelphia, would you wear a Dallas Cowboy jersey at Lincoln Financial? And you worked with your boys in downtown Philly? Would you wear a Cowboy jersey to the link? Would you? You might get your ass kicked. I mean, I don't know. Sills is a Bud Light drinker. Yeah. Hey, Twiz, 2 things Big Sills doesn't do. Eat a half a sandwich and anything light. No light cola, no light beer, no light. Do I look like a guy who eats half a sandwich? I mean, seriously. I'm not a half a sandwich. And when I get a piece of cake, it's a hunk, not a piece. Someone goes, Sills, you want a piece of cake? No, I want a hunk. Yeah, I want a hunk. Okay? Yeah, give me a hunk of that coconut cream pie there, man. I'm more of a hunk. Neither drink seltzer. Yeah. No, man. They drink wine. It's the only, hey, MCAS, the 49ers stadium and the concession people that roll through the aisles, it's the only building in the NFL that they serve wine and cheese on a tray, and they got pâtés. I don't even know what a pâté is. Pâté? This is from Napa. What's Napa? It's a valley. Okay. What is that? Napa Valley. It's wine country. You serve wine at a football game? Of course we do. We got Merlots. We got Chardonnays. We got Mellow Blancs. We got cake bread Merlot. Which one would you want? Dude, I'm a beer drinker, dog, and a hot dog eater. Get out of my face before I put my fist in it. Wine, cheese, pâté. Get out of my face. Could you see one of those guys coming down the aisle at Lincoln Financial? Xander. Merlot, cake bread, pâté, caviar. I'd be sitting next to him going, you're not really going to order from that guy, are you? Dude, I'm bringing my own hot dogs. Dude, not happening, man. Big Sills wants a big-ass beer, a hot dog with everything on it. Except onions. I don't like onions. Gives me agita. Wine served at a football game. Not happening. Then again, hot dogs, though, I will say this, remember, hot dogs are rear ends and lips. So, Big Sills has to check out the kind of hot dog meat you got in the building before I'm going to eat any kind of hot dogs. Just to be, on the safe side there. All right. Let me get into this here too. Oh, by the way, real quick, I want to still $800. $800 is the average for the ticket for the Eagles playing against the Patriots week 1 at Gillette. Why? It's Brady night. So the NFL thought it was in the best interest to bring the NFC champion, defending champions, to Foxborough. Because why? Just, it's kind of like the Super Bowl, the Eagles won, you're playing the Patriots, Brady, Foles. I wonder if Nick Foles is going to be there. Oh my God. Xander. Everyone, we have to get Foles as the ceremonial co-captain of that game. And he goes out for the coin toss. You want to hose the Patriot fans over? Send St. Nick out. If he don't get a job, oh my God, I would hire him just for that moment. Hey, Nick, I don't know how long you're going to stay here, but we're going to sign you for week 1, and you're our captain. I want you to go out for the coin toss for that game. Holy cow. Patriot guy would hate Philadelphia even more. Boston, Philly, how could you not do that if you're the Eagles? Send Nick Foles' ass out there. He's out there for the coin toss. Heads. No, call the same thing you guys called in the Super Bowl. Go like this. When they flip the coin, Philly special. Oh, man. Oh, see, I like doing shit like that. I like getting under my opponent. Why? Belichick would do it. Belichick loves getting under people's skin. Why wouldn't you do that? Here comes Nick Foles trotting out. St. Nick. And the guy goes like, hey, and Foles goes like this when they flip the coin. I don't give a shit what it lands on. That's what he says. He goes, I don't give a shit what it lands on. You can have the ball. We don't care. Yeah, then you walk back. And don't shake their hand because Brady don't shake your hand. So why would you shake their hand? Right? Philly special, baby. You should get shirts made that week for that. I would. I'd be walking around with Philly special. It's Brady night. Should be Philly special night. $800 to have Tom Brady come back and have the Patriots honor him. I'm going to be looking forward to that. I really am. All right. So, before we get to this other topic here, the other one's a fun topic. By the way, bottom of the hour, our friend Gary Cobb. You think there's a market for Carson Wentz? Here's the problem I have with Carson Wentz right now. What's the most embarrassing thing so far of this offseason for Carson Wentz? Do you guys know what it is? First off, is there a market? But you know what's embarrassing for Carson Wentz? Yale says it's a backup. Carl goes, no. Dude, Nate Peterman has a job. Okay? Josh Johnson has a job. I mean, the 49ers could have used him in that NFC title game. Don't tell me there's not a market for him, because there is. Is there a market for him? Here's the problem that he has. See, you guys, none of you guys brought it up. Frank Reich passed on him for Andy Dalton. Think about that. Frank Reich passed on him. And Frank had a good year with him in Indy. 3,700 yards, 67 completion percentage. They went 9-8. I get they didn't play well against the Raiders and the Jags. Jags turned out to be a pretty good football team. Okay? They were just coached by a shithead, an urban liar. They were a good team. They just didn't know it because they had a amateur coach coaching them. They were good. They just didn't know it. Okay? So that puts a whole different light on that. Jags are good. I'm hearing Green Bay or Tampa Bay for Wentz. I wouldn't have a problem with both places. I don't know what Jordan Love's going to be. And Baker Mayfield? Really? If you're those two places, I think those make the most sense for you. But you got Kyle Trask down in Tampa, so you got some draft equity there. Green Bay, I don't know. Jordan Love, Trey Lance, maybe Matt LaFleur turns his career around. Or if you do this and you turn around and you do something like this and you go down the line here and you say something like this, you go, why doesn't he go to Kansas City and have Andy Reid work with him? Why not that? That would be something. So is there a market for him? Let me get this here for Rick Barry. Okay, there we go. Would there be a market? Frank apologized after Indy, so Frank wouldn't bring him into another organization. I think Green Bay would be a great opportunity for him. But he has to go in as a backup. He has to go in as a backup. Okay, so to me, that's the best situation for him, is to go in and build up some equity again so that he can get out there on the free agent market. And God knows, maybe he gets an opportunity again. But for me right now, Carson Wentz has to go into a situation not thinking he's the starter. I think the number one issue that he has right now is teammates don't believe him. Do you go to San Francisco? I mean, Kyle Shanahan is in love right now with the USC quarterback, Sam Darnold. That's his turf up there, too. That's why I thought Green Bay would be a situation for him. Okay? That's why I thought it'd be a great situation for him. By the way, all 32 teams, I'm going to do that here in a couple minutes here my impressions of where they are roster-wise. You know, I'll tell you what, there's some people out there that don't really think the Eagles are going to have a banner year like they did a year ago. I'm not one of those guys. May 13th I did. Now I'm a little bit different here. So we're going to get to that here in a second. I want to go over to this other topic. And for the record, just to close that topic up, I do think there's a market. There'll always be a market for Carson Wentz. The issue will be the money, because then he's going to have to understand, bro, you're not going to make $38 million ever again in your career. But if two things have shown us that guys can resurrect careers, how many people thought Ryan Tannehill would ever resurrect their career in Tennessee? Or Geno Smith would resurrect their career in Seattle? He hasn't had the best coaching. Outside of Philadelphia, where's he got good coaching? And when he got it in Indy, he performed. To me, if I'm Carson Wentz, I got to go to a place that has great coaching. And people that understand, that's why Andy Reid makes sense being a backup to Mahomes. You get an opportunity to learn from a guy and maybe understand some of the things that you did wrong. But look at the places he's been. Washington. Really? You think you're really getting great coaching and great direction from an organization that was run by Daniel Snyder when he was there? Do you really think that? Jim Irsay. By the way, he played great there. He played great in Indianapolis. He didn't have a bad year. 27 touchdowns, 7 picks. Wasn't like he failed. Go to Dallas? Why would he go to Dallas? You're not going to get great coaching in Dallas. That's not going to work. Dude, to me, I'd go to Los Angeles where the Rams are with Sean McVay. Look what he did with Jared Goff. You need to go to a place where a guy understands the quarterback position and will give you great coaching. He needs great coaching. Carson Wentz needs to go to it's not about winning now. It's about being in a great position to win for yourself and to be coached correctly. He hasn't been coached since he left Philly. Well, Indianapolis. And Doug and Howie at the end, there was more of a bitching match going on between those two guys than there was anything else. By the way, I'm not suggesting to you that Carson Wentz is ever going to look like 2017 again. But I'm saying he could be functional again. Geno Smith was. And Geno Smith has never had the career that Wentz has had. If you look at Carson Wentz's numbers, they're pretty good. Geno Smith's not a better quarterback than Carson Wentz. He had a better year. Nobody on the planet would go, Geno Smith is a great quarterback. He had a good year. 1-12 doesn't mean you're a better quarterback. You had a better season. That's it. Like someone goes, Sills, who would you take, Geno Smith or Carson Wentz? Who's my coach? Would be the number one issue. Who's my coach? Sean McVay. Probably Wentz. Wentz is better. He's had more quality years. And he's younger. He needs a coach. Okay? You seem to be under the impression the only problem with Wentz is his play. The problem that he has is he needs to be coached. Whereas Jalen Hurts doesn't. Jalen Hurts is his own coach in a way. Jalen understands it. He's more mature. So he has to be directed more. Terry Bradshaw had to be directed more by Chuck Noll than, say, John Gilliam or anyone else that quarterback there, because Bradshaw wasn't very mature either. You seem to be under the impression that Carson Wentz didn't put up an MVP season in Philly too. He did. Vet goes, Wentz head case. You know what's funny about what Vet just said, head case? Isn't it funny? He holds every single seasonal passing record in your franchise's history. Pretty crazy. Most passes, most yards, only quarterback with 4,000 yards, 30 some odd touchdown passes, second in MVP voting. I'll be shocked if Jalen Hurts ever breaks any of those records. No one else has in your franchise history. Okay? No one else has. I think he threw for 4,000 twice. Right? And he was part of a Super Bowl win. That was like 8 years ago. Okay? Like I said, I was comparing him to Geno Smith, who's older. I wasn't comparing him really to anyone else. I was talking about him and Geno. He needs coaching. He needs to have better coaching. You don't think there's any coincidence that Nick Foles sucked out loud everywhere he went? Think about where he went. What was it? Jeff Fisher had him, didn't he? Who else had him? Doug Marrone in Jacksonville? Chicago? Chicago hasn't got the quarterback position right in 70 years. Where's Foles got good coaching? Philly. Doug had him. Right? You got great coaching. Coaching matters in the NFL. Coaching so much doesn't matter. Jim McMahon, sure, okay. Never played. You know, Jim McMahon never played a full season in 17 years in the NFL, ever. Never played 16 games. Never played a 16-year season in his entire 17 years. He was never durable. He was a good quarterback, but he was never durable. As a matter of fact, if you think about it, since Sid Luckman, 70 years, best quarterback Chicago's ever had, Jay Cutler, McMahon, Rex Grossman. Who Chicago had in 70 years? Bobby Douglas? I mean, give me Mitchell Trubisky. Actually, Mitchell Trubisky's 21-11. JoJo goes, Wentz has no durability. Well, your guy's been hurt 2 years in a row, too. He's missed ball games. I mean, Jalen hasn't played a full season yet either. And I don't believe he will this year. And that's not going to continue to improve. By the way, Gary Cobb, Fox 29, is going to join us here in a couple minutes. Going to get his thoughts on how that schedule is played out for the Eagles. And I do want to talk to him about Embiid a little bit, because that was a nuclear Chernobyl meltdown yesterday. Had to be one of the most embarrassing moments in Philadelphia sports history watching that thing, especially with an MVP on the team. Embiid got the award. You know what he did? He packed the season in. Seriously, man, that guy had a seesaw. And Tobias Harris, you pay that guy $40 million a year? Holy shit. I mean, the decision-making in that organization, they need to go over to the NovaCare Center, and they need to look how they do business, okay, and how Howie and Jeffrey Lurie run their team and organizationally, and they need to duplicate that, because that thing is a train wreck. I mean, watching that yesterday, if you were on that bench, you should have gotten into a fist fight. Dude, you may beat us on the boards and you may beat us on the scoreboard, but I'm not leaving here getting my pride beat up. That ain't happening. I'd have gone Rick Mahorn on your ass. You would have thought we were playing back in the day, the Pistons. I'd have turned that thing into bad boy basketball. Man, I'm not letting you run me over like that. I'm a poor loser. Just so you know, I'm not a very good loser. Shaking hands and shit after games and all that sportsman stuff, not for me. I don't believe in you kicking my ass for 60 minutes of football and me shaking your hand. That's not I'm not cut that way. I'm not, and nor was Jerome Brown cut that. We were not cut that way. That's not how we worked. Shaking hands and hugging You see him hugging guys too after. I was like, man, that's even more embarrassing. Damn. There was no pride. I mean, dude, when you walked off that court, you should have been walking off with your head down. I mean it. And then you get out there and you start answering questions, throwing dudes under the bus like that. Oh, me and James can't win it by ourselves. What a terrible comment. And one I'll remember. Because then I'll start pointing out every time you lay an egg like that in big moments like Kirk Cousins. Dude, let me ask you something here. Before we get Gary Cobb on, let me ask you this. Before we get G Cobb on. Okay. Gary, get there. Let me ask you this here. Who are you more embarrassed with? The way Wentz ended his career and how he kind of started losing ball games, or what you saw yesterday? You more embarrassed with Wentz or with Embiid? Who are you more embarrassed for? Man, that was so terrible as an athlete. Watching Embiid, dude, Wentz got a Super Bowl ring. He's got a Super Bowl ring. Let me say this to you, man. My boy Gary Cobb has been talking sports in Philadelphia for a long time. And what we saw yesterday, before we get into the NFL, let me say this, man. Everyone shits all over Carson Wentz and how people look at Carson Wentz out the door. 15 points by your MVP and Joel Embiid. Tobias Harris, I see him in the first half. You pay that guy $40 million. And then you have Embiid come out and go like this. James and I can't win the series alone. Man, you throw the rest of your team and your coach under a bus like that. That had to be one of the most embarrassing moments in Philadelphia sports history. Let me get G Cobb in here, man. Gary, am I right?
That's all everybody's talking about. You know they're talking about it today. I mean, and then afterwards, somebody's got to tell him. You're over there yucking it up with a dude just scored 51 points on you, blew you guys out of there, and you're over there, like, hey, look, you guys could be boys. But if you know anything about Philadelphia, you are not over there like ha, 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 and everything. No, this ain't no time for no ha, 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 ha. That was a bad decision for him to do that after the game. I'm going like, man, dude, don't do that. And I mean, he is getting roasted every bit away, every bit away, man. I mean, they're roasting him. I mean, the kids, you go into the store, kids are outside roasting him, man. That was not a good way to be. You don't want to do that, man. You play like that, and then, like I said, after the game, dude.
I know, the hugging.
Come on, man. Now, you give a dude, okay, man,
Yeah.
all right. You could talk to him later if you want to talk to him, because, after you get dressed and you can come out, you guys want to talk. If you're boys, because I know you got some boys on the team. Okay. You're going to stand there after that humiliation. Now, losing is one thing. Getting run out of the building. Come on, man. And you know that you guys didn't show up, man. Come on. You know that you did not show up. I mean, come on. You got to know better than that, man. And,
How about this, Gary?
What's that?
Tell me I'm wrong. And again, you've been covering Philadelphia sports for decades. I threw this out. The Marquez Fultz, the Ben Simmons, the Jimmy Butler decision, the Harden trade. Everyone questioned him in the postseason,
Yes.
and it's actually been solidified. Plus, Embiid is the only MVP as of right now to have never reached a conference finals that has won that award. I mean, the organization that Josh Harris runs.
Yes.
Is it me? Is it a front office thing? Is it an ownership thing? Because they can't get any decisions right.
Well, I think that, these guys are not terrible, I mean, they got to the
but look at those
game.
decisions, Gary.
I
mean,
know.
Everyone's wrong.
I know. I mean, they just have not been able to pull it together. I mean, like when you're losing a seventh game, see, now you had to get to that seventh game, but you're playing against a good team. I mean, it was going to be a close game. Everybody expected a close game, a respectable game. If you lose, but to not show up. I mean, and then, I'm going to see somebody diving on the floor for a ball or something, please. But not that type of performance where you just
there was no guts.
Yeah, it just seemed like they just fell apart.
There was no guts. And let me get over to
well, if I just say this about the fact is now, that's why you got to give, the Eagles aren't treated like that because Jalen Hurts he just would not allow that, man. The dude is, he's looking at everybody in the eye, man. Hey, we're going out here. We get ready to go to war, and we are going to fight. And, come on, man. That's all. I tell you, he needs to go over there and give a talk to those guys. Come on, man.
Absolutely. I mean, the way he conducts himself, we're going to talk a little more about that here in a minute, but I want to get over to the schedule release and all this from a week ago and get your opinion on this now because the Eagles are going to have the toughest schedule in the upcoming NFL season and all the great quarterbacks that they're going to be playing. Gary, I made this comment last week, and I said that the 2023 season is going to define Hurts because we're going to look at him going against Josh Allen. We're going to look at him going against Patrick Mahomes. We're going to look at them going against all these great coaches. Yeah. And we're going to have an opinion on him that's either going to be better or maybe even less because, look, when we look at Josh Allen this year, people look at Josh Allen going, got to protect the ball more, son. Can't be reckless like that. You've got to show up to those big games because now all of a sudden you're making a pause on Allen a little bit on his postseason play. So am I right when I say that about Jalen? This is going to define him.
Well, it's going to define him now. Because clearly, what I look at that schedule, when they come around that corner, boy. Whew,
oh, yeah.
My goodness. So, they're going to have time to see, and we're going to find out a lot about a lot of people. But, of course, Jalen is going to be out there, and we will see. Now, I got to see what they're going to do, the different changes they're going to make. You're going to see some subtle changes, listening to the coordinators last week and seeing what they had to say. And, I'm really interested. They got a lot of work to do because, defensively, they got some work to do. The defensive coordinator is a good talker and everything. They got work to do because you got these young kids. They got to grow up quickly,
Absolutely.
This is not, for kids. So they got to grow up immediately, and you got to get something out of them. So what can you get out of them right now? Because they need something out of them. Time they show up, they don't have a year to chill out. No, they gotta produce some stuff right away. These young kids, because they got holes in the defense that those kids hopefully will be able to fill.
They're definitely up the middle too here.
Yeah.
I want to tie something that happened in the NBA to Jalen Hurts here, and I think this is kind of what maybe gives us a little bit more of an understanding why the Eagles believe in him, trust him, and love him as the face of the franchise. And I want to get your thoughts on how much you think an organization has to really sometimes look at guys with character. Maybe tie this into Jalen Carter a little bit too.
Woo,
Morant. Morant.
I thought that's
is
where
flashing a gun.
Yeah.
And Memphis Grizzlies in the NBA have suspended him. Again, he's broken no crimes or anything, but obviously there's a look, there's children, people are impressionable.
Yes.
You are an employee of the NBA. I think you hold an obligation to how you conduct yourself and how you represent an organization. And they have every right, Gary, to put these guardrails in. And this made me even think more that if you're the Eagles, you're looking at Jalen Hurts going, man, that's exactly why they believe in him. They trust him. And then when you look at Jalen Carter, do you think the Eagles have an obligation to put guardrails around him? Because, again, guys' character's being put in question here. How much responsibility do you think the Eagles are looking at this now saying, hey, look, we don't want to have, and I'm not saying I am not saying at all he's going down the John Morant route. However, he was in a situation where a couple people passed away.
Yeah.
And they held him accountable to a point. What's the obligations of the Eagles to keep this in check here? Or is it?
It clearly is an obligation. I mean, it's something that they're taking on. They know that that's why he was there. That's why he was there at number 9. I mean, if that incident had not happened, he would not have been there. So this is something that, I think is definitely something that has to be discussed. I don't think that, I know because of some of the legalities and different things from a lawyer perspective and all that, they're not discussing that publicly, and they're not going to ask him to speak to that publicly because from what I understand, he has been his legal people let him know, look, don't discuss this publicly. But clearly it's something that's got to be discussed. It's a legitimate question because of what happened, because of the situation. So it's there. That's why I say, look, he does not have time to come in and go through the motions. No, it's football, and keeping your nose clean, man. That's what it's got to be. So that's not something they can play with because, you let anything happen. I mean, something that's might be harmless or not that a big a deal in some kind of other situation, but anything off the field is major news. Anything he were to do, anything off the field. So,
and you know what, Gary, I want to make it clear to people, I would still draft him. And I think that the Bears were right because I heard polls talking over the weekend saying we don't have that equity and culture in our locker room yet. We don't have what Philadelphia has. And what Jason Kelce said too. Yeah. I'm not changing my boat here saying I wouldn't have drafted him because to me, look at what he has, Gary. Yeah. We just talked about the Sixers. You have a great owner. You have a general manager. You have a winning environment.
Yes.
You're coming off an NFC team.
Yes.
You have people that coached you, recruited you, you played with.
Yes.
You have everything set up for you. How many times, Gary, have you ever seen that as a player where you have all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted? It doesn't work like that kind of perfect world like that. So
that's right.
If he fails because, but I would have still had no problem giving him the opportunity.
He does have a tremendous situation because of the people that are already there. These are guys that he grew up with because, the guys in college really, and you get close to your, the guys in the pros that you play with and everything. But the guys in college, come on, you knew them when you were a kid, okay? You grow up together. I mean, I think about, some of the guys, Ronnie Lott. Man, I knew Ronnie Lott, he was younger. So he's a kid, you knew him then. So that's why when you see guys grow up, this tremendous accomplishment and everything. Marcus Allen, I knew him when he was a high school kid coming in there to visit. And then you see him, of course, as an adult. So we see each other now. I mean, it's a special time because you knew a guy before he even became a man. And that's what he has going for him. And he's got some guys that grew up. And so they can talk to him in a different way because, you're closer, and so that's what they're going to be counting on for those guys to speak into his life. To say, hey, man, look, we worked all this way. We came up together. Come on. We remember when, you're going down the street, you don't have no money and, stuff like. So now with all they have there, you do not want to mess up this opportunity. It's a tremendous opportunity. And so the guys can get more real with them, guys you've known all that time, that I'm sure these guys knew each other when they were in high school because they were all flourishing in the same kind of area, and they're all great players. So the guys. You get to meet each other when they have an all-star, anything. So they've known him a long time. So, it's going to be as good of atmosphere as you can have.
Gary, that I haven't really said publicly too much, and it's about Ray Lewis.
Yeah.
Ray had an unfortunate death in a dorm room when he was at UM. Then, of course, the Atlanta case popped up.
Yeah.
And that whole fiasco. Whole bunch of Miami guys who played with him, and all of us and everybody said, man, these people are dragging you down. You're either going to be revered or you're going to be reviled. Right now, you're reviled. Seeing Ray Lewis in handcuffs and leg irons, we were all like, come on, man. You got to let go. It sometimes it is that, Gary, because isn't it that you're raised around and you've got your boys with you.
Yeah.
And it's almost like divorcing your friends and they call you sellout, this and that. But I can't tell you how many people told Ray, hey, man, you've got to let some of the people around you go here because they're not helping you. They're hurting you. Maybe that's, again, what we're talking about with environment here with the Eagles and having all those productive guys and people like Nolan Smith around him.
Without a doubt. I mean, he's got a lot of people that are his best friends, guys, like I said, he's been through, got a lot of history with already, and they're stand-up guys. So that's a big plus. And I think that's probably, something the Eagles know that they have that's kind of an assurance to where you can make sure that he's in an environment that's going in the right direction. And that's a strong plus because a lot of times, ultimately that's what it comes down to. Who are you hanging around? It's that simple. If you're, if you're around the right people, they pull you in the right direction. Keep your mind right, and that's something that you couldn't put a price on it. It is very valuable, and it's something that in the situation that the Eagles are, that's part of their investment. And so
absolutely, Gary, I can't wait to see how this whole thing shakes out. Sixers now are on tea time, so they'll be down in the Caymans. I'm sure about it, man. I wouldn't show my face around that city right now if I was any of them dudes. Seriously, I'd wear a mask.
I was telling them guys, when I was seeing them doing that yucking after the game and everything, I'm going, dude, you just need to tell somebody to pick your stuff up. You need to go to wherever you're going. Don't come through here, man, because
all I tell you is this, man. Hey, all I know is this, man. Jesse James used a gun and a mask when he robbed the bank. Those guys, man. Hey, man. Gary, let me go, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, have a good one. All right.
You got it. Gary Cobb, Fox 29, Philadelphia. Don't forget our good friend. Absolutely. Please hit the like button. Honestly, man, when Jesse James walked into the bank and he robbed banks, he had a gun and a mask. I don't know what the Sixer dudes were doing. Hugging it up at the end. Let me get out of here, man. Hit the like button. Don't forget, Rick Barry is going to light into them. He texts me, man. He goes, what an embarrassing moment. Here's a guy who's a Finals MVP, Hall of Famer, and he's going to give it to us. That'll be at 5:30 Eastern time. I do have the Big Sills review, my preseason review of how many wins I think all 32 teams are going to have. I'm going to do that next. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
This is Governor Ed Rendell urging you to vote for my friend Judge Pat Dugan for Superior Court. I appointed Judge Dugan in 2007 to the Philadelphia Municipal Court, where he now serves as its president judge. Pat is a proud Army veteran of 23 years. He served 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's also recommended by the Philadelphia Bar Association. But most importantly, he bleeds Eagles green and hates those Dallas Cowboys. So get out and vote for number 3, Judge Pat Dugan for Superior Court.
Paid for by Dugan 2023.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big chill. But Jay Wright coaching these Sixers. Would he take up that challenge? Jay Wright. Higher quality people, man. You got a bunch of kids in the building now. Why not get a guy who understands how to coach kids? Get Jay Wright. Ask him if he'll do it. You'd have to pay him a king's ransom to clean up that shit show. But go get Jay Wright. I don't know if he'd take the gig, though. Who would have thought? You have more confidence in a Villanova coach than you do in a guy who's been around the NBA. Because you're going to blame Doc. You have to. You know why? You're not going to have the onions to get rid of Embiid. You're not going to win with him. You know, there's just certain – can I tell you who Joel Embiid reminds me of? Or maybe even James Harden too. Those guys are kind of like better versions of Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony, to me, you know, his biggest accomplishments were off an NBA court. They weren't on an NBA court. Those were his biggest accomplishments. The Olympics and Syracuse. He was always good, but he was never elite. Sills, he was an elite scorer. Okay. Okay. So was George Gervin. Okay. Right? He's like a better version of Carmelo. That's all I see when I see him. Like when I see James, when I see him, I'm like, I don't know. Carmelo Anthony, James Harden, right? Something like that. Okay, I suppose. Right? I don't know, man. I just don't see it. Top of the hour, by the way, we're going to do the Big Sills top 32 teams in the NFL. I'm going to give you my predictions on how many games I think they're going to win. Okay? Hey, by the way, I see we're having a little internet issues here, so I appreciate everybody hanging tight with me. Thank you very much. Don't forget, Rick Barry's going to join us also at 5:30 Eastern time here. I want to show you an organization that is starting to run out of gas a little bit. You know what it is? It's the Patriots. So Bob Kraft over the weekend has come out and said, hey, I think we had a hell of a draft. You do? How do you know that? Your guys don't even have a helmet yet. How do you know you had a good draft? I don't even know if the Eagles had a good draft. I know they addressed needs. I know they scouted talent. But how do you know if you had a good draft or not? It's the fastest way for you to spot an organization that's panicking. Remember what I told you about the Packers last week? What did the Packers do? Packers came out and went, hey, whoa, wait a minute. If your expectations are of us winning the NFC North, Jordan Love is a work in progress. So wait a minute. You moved off a 4-time MVP, and you're not sure that guy's going to deliver a North title to you? Why am I buying season tickets then? Wake me up when you got a team that is contending. So wait a minute. You want me to help you build the team. I thought it was build a team and they will come. See how organizations are now? They want you to be loyal to them, like the Sixer fans and how the 76ers look at you. They want you to fill up Wells Fargo knowing full well they have no chance of winning an NBA title. And they're not building a champion. The Sixers aren't building a championship team, just like the Patriots aren't, and just like the Packers aren't. When you're building a championship team, it takes decades of putting a culture together. The Patriots and the Belichick, he's out of gas. Bill Belichick is out of gas. He has stayed too long. He's out of gas. Same way Don Shula was. Tom Landry. He's out of gas. And luck. And luck. Well, Belichick, look at, he's the guy that drafted Brady. Hey, he missed on him 5 times too. I mean, remember, they did draft a guy in the 6th round. So what does that tell you? They got lucky. It wasn't like they had scouts in the building breaking down Brady's greatness at Michigan or his tremendous combine that he didn't have. Dude, Tom Brady was a diamond in the haystack that they found. And it changed the entire narrative of Bill Belichick. Completely changed the narrative. Just as my boy Xander, Nick Saban has, I don't know, you ever watch the Indiana Jones movie where the guy picks the wrong cup and he ends up dying and Indy picks the right cup? Here's Nick Saban. He chose wrong the Dante Culpepper Cup. And Sean Payton picked the Drew Brees Cup. And look at those. You're trying to tell me you think Sean Payton's a better coach than Nick Saban? I don't. I think Sean Payton's overrated. What's he done without Brees? Someone help me. What's he done without Brees? If Saban chooses Brees, the dynasty in New England might not be what it looks like today. Just because of the decision, not because of coaching. That had nothing to do with coaching. That's luck. So how much is it really when you're looking at a guy like Belichick and you go, do you think he's going to duplicate or get even remotely close to what he did with Tom Brady? He's never going to get close like that. He's in, like I've been telling you, he's in the Steve Grogan land now or the Tony Eason land. I'm not saying he's not a good coach. I'm saying he ain't the coach that everyone thinks he is. He's just like everyone else. Are you trying to tell me you don't think Rex Ryan would have had a great resume if he had Tom Brady? I think he would have. Can you imagine Nick Saban with Tom Brady? I'll tell you one thing Nick's good at, better than Belichick. He's a better talent evaluator. And just as good defensive mind, I think. But one guy chose the quarterback right. Look at the shit show he had in Cleveland. He took Bernie Kosar out and put Vinny Testaverde in. He got fired for that move. He got fired because he did that. Because Vinny looked like the prototype. Love both guys. But if I had to pick a quarterback to win a game at the University of Miami, it wouldn't be Vinny. And I love Vinny. It would be Bernie. Bernie won more prolific games in his career than Vinny ever did. But Vinny was a better player. But Bernie was a better quarterback. But Bill didn't see it that way because he threw sidearm, didn't have... The guy actually looked like Brady. It's funny. Okay? If he had chose right, I like Kosar too, man. National champions, got a Super Bowl ring. All right, I got to take a timeout. Rick Barry, man, I don't know what he's going to say about Doc Rivers. I know this, it ain't going to be flattering. And I can't wait to hear what he says about Joel Embiid. He's going to tell us, too, both conference championships are set now. Jimmy Butler and his Heat take on the Celtics and Nuggets and Lakers. That'll be at the bottom of the hour, but I'm going to hit on my 32 teams. We're going to do that next. Please hit the like button. Power Hours coming up. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
This is Governor Ed Rendell urging you to vote for my friend Judge Pat Dugan for Superior Court. I appointed Judge Dugan in 2007 to the Philadelphia Municipal Court, where he now serves as its president judge. Pat is a proud Army veteran of 23 years. He served 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's also recommended by the Philadelphia Bar Association. But most importantly, he bleeds Eagles green and hates those Dallas Cowboys. So get out and vote for number 3, Judge Pat Dugan for Superior Court.
Paid for by Dugan 2023.
EAGLES, Eagles.
here on the National Football Show with our friends. We appreciate you coming aboard. Please hit the like button. My friend, Hall of Famer Rick Barry, is going to join us, and we're going to talk a little bit about what we saw over the weekend. I do not believe he's going to be very kind to Doc Rivers and the 76ers on what transpired yesterday. So we will talk with him, get his thoughts on the conference titles. Man who's won everything. He's one of the top 20 players in the history of the sport. Finals MVP, world champion, one of the greatest. Like I said, I think he averaged 25 points a game in his 18 years playing in the NBA, and he's a dear friend of mine. And he tells it like it is. He even tells me to shut the hell up. So I love Rick Barry. He'll join us at the bottom of the hour. We're going to get into my predictions. After free agency, the draft, we still have one more shopping day. That's June 1. But I want to get into this. We're going to do this here in a minute. Before we do that, who's got a better chance of failure? Jonathan Gannon or Shane Steichen? Shane Steichen, the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, and Jonathan Gannon, the head football coach of the Arizona Cardinals. Which one of those two guys do you think? Gannon? See, both guys have quarterbacks that are interesting. Gannon has Kyler Murray, a $46.1 million per year investment. And Steichen has Anthony Richardson. However, both guys have one thing in common: shitty owners. You got Jim Irsay and Michael Bidwell. Guys with no patience and no sense. No patience, no sense, zero football understanding. So you're in a position where at least both guys have one thing in common. They got shitty environments. You see, the problem that you have in Indianapolis and the problem you have in Arizona, you can't change the environment. You see, the owner in Philly wants the environment a certain way. It to be a championship mentality. And most importantly, they want to win. But they want to win a certain way. Everyone knows their role. I'm talking Philly. In those other places, the problem that you have in Indianapolis, you got a often recluse owner, and in Arizona, you have a never-ending shitty culture. How can you win in those places? You can't. There is no chance of success for those two men. There's no chance of success for Kyler Murray. And by the way, you know how all of you guys keep telling me that Kyler Murray is a baby, he's immature? How do you know that? And it's not just the ever-ending 100 years of shitty ownership that the Bidwells had since the father owned a team. How do you know that? Do you think anybody could succeed in that environment? How do you know it's Kyler Murray? See, I'm pausing on that a bit. Kyler Murray's immature. Hey, guess what? So he's immature for bringing up the fact that the organization has had problems in it and didn't like the direction of the head coach. Let's do this. You know why he didn't like Cliff Kingsbury? Where has Cliff Kingsbury shown any success at all anywhere in his coaching career? Do you understand that he had a losing record at Texas Tech with Patrick Mahomes? So you've had Patrick Mahomes and you have had Kyler Murray and you can't win? I don't know. There's a funny dynamic there. You think if Andy Reid had Kyler Murray and well, we already know with Patrick Mahomes. Okay? Hey, I'll tell you this. I see people saying, well, you see Kyler Murray screaming at his coach. I don't know about you, but if my career was in the hands of myself and I saw my coaches putting me in a poor position to win and I've seen Brady screaming at assistant coaches on the sidelines. I've seen Brady screaming at players on the sidelines. I've seen Brady screaming at Bill O'Brien. I don't hear anybody bitching about that. They call that leadership. When Kyler Murray does it, he's an asshole. Be careful, man. Apply it everywhere. Brady screaming at Bill O'Brien when Bill was on the sidelines before he took the Texans job. He was screaming on the sidelines to him. Okay? Yale goes, well, Brady's won 8. So you're trying to tell me you really think that that's a good environment in Arizona? Really? Huh. So you think the environment in Arizona is Kyler Murray, even though the Bidwells are under investigation by the National Football League for an unhealthy work environment, sexual harassment, burner phones, a drunk general manager. Really? Yale goes both. Well, shit, though. That's gone on for about 65 years that the family's owned the Cardinals. I mean, nothing's changed. I'm just saying. I'm not saying Kyler Murray's not accountable for some of his actions on the side there, but you're making excuses up for ownership. That's horrific. Then you got a pill-popping owner in Jim Irsay in Indianapolis. Oh, I bet that's a healthy environment. And he's still in his mourning with his love child, Andrew Luck. Okay. Telling me how great Matt Ryan is as a leader. Well, he fired him too. Jim Irsay. Hey, Washington, stay away from my boy, Andrew Luck, because it's tampering. I don't remember the last time Luck played a game. Hey, he's ours. He's mine. I own him. He's my guy. Stay away from my whoopee. Jesus, guy. Get a room. I mean, really. A little weird, ain't it? Why do you hate Irsay? Why do you hate on Irsay so much? I hate on Irsay because Irsay doesn't let people coach or play in Indianapolis. They don't. He doesn't. He meddles, gets in the way, and he hurts the opportunity for an organization to go forward. He's a guy he's a horrible owner to work for. You never know when he's going to fire you. Bob Kraft doesn't do that shit, and nor does the guy in Philly. That's why they got Howie Roseman. That's why Howie Roseman's got a 3-year contract extension, because he trusts them to do the organization right. Everyone's got a role. And what are the reasons that I tell you guys this? I like structure. I know it may not seem it. That's why I told you my favorite team in sports history are the Bulls. Jordan couldn't stand Jerry Krause. That didn't matter to Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner. He didn't give a shit whether Jordan liked him or not. All he knew was that Jerry Krause hired Phil Jackson, fired Doug Collins, found Scottie Pippen, found Tony Kukoc, found Horace Grant, traded for Dennis Rodman, had a conveyor belt of centers. You know why they never had dominant centers in Chicago? Phil told me this years ago when I had him on my program. You know why? Because the triangle wasn't really designed for the shooting guard. It was designed for the pivot man. And Tex Winter turned it upside down for Jordan. He inverted it. That's why when you could either, the triangle is built for the 5, not for Jordan. But Tex Winter turned it upside down and said, well, we don't have a dominant center. We're just going to turn Jordan into the focal point of the triangle. That's how that got invented. I mean, it was innovative at the time because if you remember right, if you could really say this about Tex Winter had more to do with the elimination of the center position than any coach in the history of the NBA. Because when they started seeing the shooting and what the shooter would be to the game, that's the creation of Steph Curry. That's why there's no dominant centers in the game. There's no dominant big men any longer. They're all hybrid power forwards. That's exactly what happened. There's no, I mean, you don't see Olajuwon in the game. Probably Embiid's the closest thing to Hakeem. But everybody had a great center. Tex Winter and Phil Jackson almost single-handedly eliminated. The last most dominant big man is Shaquille. He's the last dude. The last guy. But you know what you had there? You had a coach, a GM, owner, star players, and role players. Clemens was the offensive guy. Winter was the defensive guru. Phil was the guy spinning the dishes in the circus. Reinsdorf put for Phil to spin. Reinsdorf oversaw it. That's how an organization should be run. Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, a head coach. See, the head coach is interchangeable in Philly, the same way the head coach was interchangeable in Chicago. Doesn't matter if Phil Jackson's there. Well, probably more so for that because Phil's proven. But Phil can't build a team, though. Phil goes to loaded teams. I mean, he went to Chicago, or he went to New York, and he was horrible. That shows you he's limited. Chicago did more damage to Phil's resume because you know why? Everyone always thought it was Phil. No, it was Reinsdorf. And it was Krause that built the dynasty. It wasn't Phil Jackson. Phil knew how to spin the dishes. That's all he could do. And he convinced Jordan. He was a good salesman. But at the end of the day, he couldn't build a team. He couldn't build it. I mean, they ran him out of town quicker than they ran Carmelo Anthony out of town. Why? Because Phil was never going to build a championship team. And that's why Jordan could never. And that's why he's selling the team. See, in Chicago, they were the worker bees. They weren't the reason they won. Well, they were the reason they won, obviously, because of their gifts that they brought to the organization. But they tried to dismiss Reinsdorf and Krause and their importance to winning. Well, they went on their own and tried it. They failed miserably. Jordan's the worst owner in the history of the NBA when it comes to putting talent on the floor. Now, the guy who owned the Clippers was probably the worst because of character. But Jordan owned that team for a long time and was running the Wizards. He's terrible. Phil tried to run the Knicks. He was terrible. Okay? Just what it is. Jordan made bank, though. Yeah, well, Jordan did something that changed the game also. Jordan signed, I think it was 4 years in a row, $33 million contracts. And he signed 1-year contracts. And the thing that really sucked about that organization, they were never beaten on the floor. They were beaten in a boardroom. No one took them out except management and ego. And ego always, in the end, always destroys something that you covet. Doesn't matter what it is. Your coaching career, your broadcasting career. Ego gets in the way of common sense almost 100% of the time. You think you're better than you are. And you don't understand. You're a worker bee. You work for somebody. I had a guy in broadcasting one day do this. Okay? I had a guy one day in broadcasting nail his shoes to a program director's door, try filling knees. Program director looked at me and went, he's a widget, like we all are, including me. They'll replace me too. All right. Before we get my friend Rick Barry on, I have written down my projection so far here on May 15th. Okay? On what I think the winning records will be for these respected teams. All 32. And here is the big sales predictions. Early predictions. May 15th. We'll start with Arizona. I don't see it. I just don't see it. They have a lot of work to do on defense. Kyler Murray's injured. I don't even know who's going to start the season for him. I got them at 4-12. Actually, excuse me. I got them at 4-13, 17 ball games. Got them at 4. I think they win 4 games. Atlanta. I think Atlanta's going to have a pretty good year. I got them at 10-7. Okay? I got them at 10-7. I think they're going to make a rebound. I think Bijan Robinson's going to lead the NFL in rushing. Yeah, but we don't want him in Philly. They tell these whiner fans that Purdy has nothing on Hurts and running backs don't thread the needle in the back of the end zone. Double coverage. Brock Purdy, 85. I want to see it again. I want to see the chicken wing. And I'm not talking about a wrestling move. Bijan, baby. Go get him, man. We don't want him in Philly. The Eagles don't spend money on running backs. Yeah. I know. Baltimore, 11-6. I think they have a really good year. I think the AFC's packed. Buffalo, 12-5. Woo! Ugh. Woo! Eagles, don't you play them? How you doing? Hey, that's a how you doing game if you're a Philadelphia Eagle fan. Jalen, Josh Allen coming for you. How you doing? Carolina, probably a little bit more because he's my boy. I got Frank Wright going 9-8. Chicago. Xander kind of likes Justin Fields. Actually, I thought he played well at the end of the year. I thought he picked his game up. I think it's a shitty culture. I got him winning 6 ball games. 6-11. Cincinnati, 13-4. Woo! I think that's your team that's going to the Super Bowl on the AFC side. Joe Burrow, I done. Elite quarterback right there. That's an elite quarterback. Cleveland, 10-7. Nice rebound, Deshaun. You're going to be in the conversation. Oh, yeah. Can't wait to watch Deshaun Watson this year. Go get him, Deshaun. League cleared you. Let's go play some ball. How you doing? Cowboys, 11-6. Ooh, 11-6 in the NFC East. Absolutely. So I'm going to stop it right here. We'll reset it. We'll reset. Because I couldn't wait to hear Rick. That had to be one of the absolutely most embarrassing games I've ever seen in my entire life. Was yesterday. And I couldn't wait to get Rick on. Here is the Hall of Famer himself, Rick Barry. Rick, not a way to play a Game 7, huh?
Yeah, pretty bad.
Yeah.
But, they played them pretty decent for a while. It doesn't break my heart. You know why. I'm not a big fan of Doc Rivers, and so I feel badly for the guys on the team who tried so hard to do something. But Jason Tatum was just on a roll. I mean, you could just tell he had the feeling. You get that feeling sometimes, like everything you throw up eventually is going to go in, and he was on a roll. And the team played so well. Their defense shut him down. Played tough defense, and they just went on that long run and blew the game open. And and, basically embarrassed them. That's an embarrassing loss in the Game 7. There's no question about that.
Is Tatum elite in the NBA? Would you consider one of the top 5 players in the NBA now? Or
I consider him one of the top players. I mean, he still has a propensity to, and like a lot of players do, to force things a little bit. I call it basically the Westbrook syndrome, where you try to make things happen as opposed to taking what the defense gives you and let the game kind of play and come to you. Jordan Poole has the same tendencies at times to do that. At times, Brown does that for the Celtics. That got him in trouble against the Warriors last year. Too many turnovers. You don't try to force things. If you don't have something, pass it up, move, cut, and play good, sound, fundamental basketball, team basketball, and you'll get so many more easy baskets. That's when the Warriors are at their best. They got in a little bit of trouble. I think they were relying on Steph too much dribbling, too much stuff. The same thing with the Knicks. I mean, Brunson, my God, he had to work so freaking hard. You can't have one guy have to do so much in order to try to help a team win. It just works better when you get everybody involved. It's tougher on the defense when you force them to have to make a lot of decisions. The more decisions you force the defense to make, the more the likely they'll make a mistake. If you have smart players, they'll capitalize on those mistakes, and you get a lot of easy baskets.
Rick Embiid, after the game, he is like, hey, James and I can't do this thing alone, and kind of threw his team, his coach, everyone under the bus. And I don't know if it was the place, but 15 points in a Game 7 for the MVP. I mean, Rick, you said the guy in Denver, in your opinion, is the true MVP.
I love
on display, wasn't it, yesterday?
Yeah, well, because Jokic does so much more for his team. But you also have to understand that I don't understand. I had a good talk with Clifford Ray, my dear friend, the starting center on our championship team, who was probably one of the best big man coaches the NBA has ever had. Just a litany of people that he's helped turn them into better players. And both of us agreed that why would you have Embiid outside so much? It's not like he's out there making the passes that the Joker makes. Put him down inside, cross screen for him, bring him over, make him switch over, give him the ball, let him abuse people down in the post. I don't think he was necessarily utilized as effectively as he could have been in that basketball game. And so, that's not on him.
So you put him not being utilized to his abilities on the coach and how Doc Rivers used him, especially in that game. I think 7.
in that game, obviously he's done well. I think in that game he needed to get back down inside and do a little bit more. And that can create a lot of problems because then you're going to have to think about doubling him. And if you have to double him, that leaves somebody else open. Now you can kick it out and get guys with their feet set, getting an opportunity to get good looks from the 3-point range. And you would prevent a run like Boston had by doing that. And a team's not going to get a run like that if you're going down inside to the MVP of the league, supposedly, right? Big guy who can do the things that he can do. He's going to put some points on the board.
James Harden. Looks like he wants to go back to Houston. It looks like he wants to try to make that transition back there. Why do I look at him? And tell me if I'm crazy when I say this comment, because you will, and I know you will. But to me, he's a better version of Carmelo Anthony. Sometimes, Rick, I see him in big games, and then I don't see him. Now, look, he's on the back 9 of his career. I'm not holding him to that standard of, say, 7 years ago. But, man, it just seems to me, again, like Chris Paul, every time the postseason comes, there's something. Tell me what your opinion is. I know you have high regard for Harden, but, how do you see him?
Well, first of all, I admire the fact that he was willing to change his game when he left because he was just given such carte blanche when he was at Houston. You talk about dominating the ball. There are many times he had the ball for 22 of the 24 seconds, and if he didn't get a shot off, he'd throw it to somebody who would have to jack up a shot. It was just not great basketball. And again, that's not on him because if that's the coach has to control that, right? And so he made the adjustment. I think he was doing a lot of good things. He actually had some some of his best games, playoff games here this season.
240-point games.
The guy, he was on, he was doing well. His biggest problem when he did it was the inconsistency especially of his 3-point shot. But boy, that guy could get to the basket, good free throw shooter. I don't think he was a selfish player. He'd get a lot of assists. And if you played with him and you were smart and you move without the ball, he would get you the basketball. So, but to pay him the kind of money you would need, I don't know if I would do that as opposed to investing in some young player that's going to have 10, 12 years to play for you who could develop into a great player.
Rick, don't you agree sometimes when you got players like Embiid and you got players like Harden on the floor, don't you think sometimes, see, like when I watch the Warriors play, man, they tire you out just watching them, and they're with the ball movement. They're running you around that thing, and they're running you out of the gym. But when you get guys like Embiid and guys like Harden sometimes, I think you have a tendency to watch these guys dribble, shoot. And it just seems different to me. And those guys seemingly get kind of stale and stagnant sometimes because those two guys dominate the ball so much that you don't see that movement like you do in Golden State. Is that a fair observation?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the way the game is meant to be played, by pass, move, cut. Like I say, force the defense to make multiple decisions. They're going to make some mistakes. And then you have to have players who know the game well enough to make the proper decisions based upon what the defense does. Like I say, you live by this. Take what the defense gives you. The defense will give you more if you force them to have to make multiple decisions, because they're going to make mistakes. I mean, I always remember the series when they were playing against Cleveland one time, and it was a close game, and they were at Golden State, and the Warriors moving. They're worried about Steph, and he's on the left side. He went on the right side, out high, goes to the left side, goes down, cuts through, cuts out to the right wing, actually the sideline. And happened to be LeBron James and J.R. Smith at the time. They didn't communicate well. They both jumped outside, worried about Steph, and they threw it inside for a dunk. I mean, so that's the type of things that are going to happen if you pass, move, and cut. I always felt that the Warriors, they were their own worst enemy. And the time, even with KD was there, when they got in trouble is when they started doing too much one-on-one. It doesn't matter who puts the ball in the basket as long as it's one of your guys, right? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's a 3, a 2, whatever. Get the best and the easiest shots that you can. Now, the extra pass, this you hear so much, oh, great play, extra pass. Well, the extra pass isn't necessarily a great play. If you're throwing the ball and you're open for a shot, like if Steph Curry's open from a shot and he's got a guy 18 feet wide open in the corner, unless this guy is a great shooter, and Steph is out, I'd rather have Steph taking that shot. You want the best shooter taking the shots. The extra pass is great if you're throwing it to a guy who is proficient and is in a better position. Now, if the guy's under the basket open, he always gets the ball. Always. But you're right. It's more fun to watch that kind of basketball. It's more difficult to defend that type of basketball. And it's way more fun to play that type of basketball.
Were you shocked the Lakers took out the Warriors in 6?
Not shocked. No, not at all. Because the Warriors were playing with fire all season long, and they were getting burned, and they just never showed that they could play consistently on the road. They managed to rise to the occasion and get away with knocking off the Sacramento Kings, who are a young, inexperienced team. The Lakers are not a young, inexperienced team. Okay, they have some young guys on it, but they also have some really great veterans, one of the greatest players of all time on their team. And so they weren't going to get away with that against the Lakers. And their inefficiency and their inconsistency that they had the entire season came back to bite them. I mean, I don't know if I can remember watching Steph Curry in 3 consecutive playoff games shoot under 30% from threes. Now, he did some other wonderful things in those games, but he didn't shoot well. Clay didn't shoot well. He was shooting like 30%. Then he was in the 20s in the last game. Jordan Poole was 0 for 3. They just were offensively terrible in that last basketball game. They were never in the game from the start, and they didn't play the kind of defense that was necessary to be a champion. That's why when they won championships, they were always a really good defensive team. They were a terrible defensive team this year. And I said, unless they find a way to get back to playing that level of defense that they played when they won the championships, which they did not play all season, there's no chance for them to win another NBA title. And that's exactly what happened.
Rick, tell me my observations on today's NBA guy. And when you look at LeBron and the longevity that he's had with success, I throw this out and I kind of compare it to the NFL. Well, the quarterbacks in the NFL nowadays, you can't touch them. You can't hit them. It's not as physical as it used to be when you guys play. And I don't want to sound like, oh, man, get off my lawn, but running the lane, you're not running the lane back in the day with those giant centers and the way you guys played back in the lane. And I think that gives you longevity. So to me, when I look at LeBron having the success that he had, I mean, Rick, if you weren't getting mugged running down the middle of the lane and you weren't getting destroyed, or if the Mahorns of the world weren't out there too, and there weren't no centers, there's really only 2 in the league, Joker and Embiid, they're all like hybrid 4s now. I mean, Do you think that has played into his longevity and why he is still at that level? Because, again, the physicality of it, plus they don't play 82 games.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the load management situation, plus the fact back when we played, we didn't travel, on charter jets and leave right after the game and get good night's sleep and everything. All of that plays into the equation you're talking about. And that's one of the reasons why players are able to last longer. I mean, 36 minutes a game is a relatively high number for most of the star players. Very few of them are playing 40 minutes or more average during the regular season. And that's when I hear this stuff. Oh, well, it's tough to get worn out. And somebody even said that to me yesterday, a friend. They said, what are you freaking talking about getting tired? You're playing, so you play 40 minutes in a game. You don't play except every other day. You don't have tough travel. I mean, don't give me this stuff about being tired. I mean, come on. You're a professional athlete. You're relatively young. I mean, fatigue should have no bearing on this.
I mean, Rick, Jordan played 9. There were 9 seasons that he had 82 games. There were another 7. He played 81. There were another 6 where he played 80. I mean, you're talking about guys like yourself who, I mean, I think Wilt got tossed from one game in his entire career.
Yeah, well, Wilt averaged over 48 minutes a game one season because he played the overtimes and stuff.
I don't mean to sound like old man, like I said.
No, but here's the thing: everything changes, Dan. Okay, what happened is there's so much money on the line that they have invested in these players. They're trying to protect their investment, so they don't want to get them worn down and beaten up and not have them ready for playoff time. But there's no way that you can protect everything. I mean, you could hurt yourself stepping, out of your car or off the curb or whatever. I mean, there's no telling what can happen. There's no guarantee by doing that it's going to be way better for you. And so I hated when I didn't play. I hated when we were blowing somebody out because I knew I wasn't going to get to play. I love playing. And, to play a game and we're blowing somebody out and I play 24 minutes, I mean, I feel like I got gypped that night.
All right, Rick, Eastern Conference. Let's start there first. Heat versus the Celtics. Who do you like in that series?
Celtics. I like the Celtics, although I think Eric Spoelstra's done a terrific job with them and Butler's done a really nice job. But the way Boston, the defense that they played, especially if they play anything like what they played in the second half of game number 7, there's no way that they should lose to Miami Heat.
Are you shocked how good Spoelstra? I mean, when he first got that job, and I did sports talk down in Miami, he was like a quality control, a video guy, cut up situational stuff. And I asked Pat, he goes, hey, who better to have than every guy that I had cut up situations for me and all the tapes I had on how I saw the game than him. And that's what his theory was, is that all the stuff I had him do, he saw the game through my eyes. And that's kind of what you see a little bit with the way he runs that organization. Have you been surprised how good a coach? I mean, he's put a Hall of Fame resume together as Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah, he's done a great job. And, coming from where he did it, you say a video coordinator, but first of all, you had to do a lot of other things to even get that responsibility because it's a huge responsibility. And it's an integral part of the success of the team. And Eric has done an outstanding job with that, but that's how he learned. Again, I was talking with Clifford Ray yesterday about this, and we said the same thing. He learned so much watching all of that tape and cutting it out. I mean, and they spend, you talk about an 8-hour day. No, when you're doing video coordinating stuff, you're not working an 8-hour day. Trust me, folks. You're spending incredible amount of time looking at things, isolating stuff, having to put video together for the coach to be able to look at certain players, their tendencies, whatever. So it was a great learning experience for him to understand some of the nuances and the intricacies of the game. And to his credit, it sunk in. He learned things, and then your on-the-job experience, you learn through that as well. And so he's turned himself into, a really successful coach, and he's done a terrific job. This probably may be his best coaching job of his career. I mean, before, he had LeBron James and he had Dwayne Wade and stuff. I mean, he doesn't have that now, okay? And yet he's still gotten this team back to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think they'll get all the way to the finals again. But, again, anything can happen. Who knows? An injury to somebody else. I mean, guys have bad games. I mean, that's the beauty of the sport, of sports in general, is that you have to play the games. I know firsthand because I lived the greatest upset in the history of the NBA Finals. I lived it. And so I know what can happen. And so I say I would never bet on a basketball game, ever.
In the West, Rick, who comes out of the West?
I like Denver. I just think Denver's playing really well. I think
in 6 or 7.
Probably 6. I think they can win in 6. We'll see. I mean, if Denver doesn't take care of business in the first 2 games, then that changes everything. Then you get a lot of confidence coming up for the younger players, especially with the Lakers and with the experience of the other 2 guys. I mean, it's a critical thing for Denver to win these first 2 games. They really have to take care of business at home, and then they're in the driver's seat. If they win the first 2 games at home, I think they'll win in 6.
Who's more of a key in that series for the Lakers? Will it be AD or will it be LeBron?
I think they both have to play at a high level, but you still need to have your other guys come through. I mean, just look at what they had in the one game. I mean, I can't even remember his name right now. My guy who the Hart or whatever the hell his name was.
How about the kid Reeve?
That's what I'm talking. Yeah, Reeves too is another one. I mean, he's been playing out of his mind, and so that's what it takes, because you don't win with only 1 or 2 players. It takes a concerted effort on the defensive end, so you play your great team defense, and then you have to have other players step up and get the job done for you offensively, because that's the beauty of basketball. 1 or 2 players are not going to win for you. It takes a team to win. And they've done a really good job. Schroeder's done a nice job. Tough defense. They made Steph Curry work so hard, he and the other guys that were assigned to guarding him, and they did a terrific job. So it's going to be fun to see what they do, because it's going to be interesting, because Davis could get in foul trouble having to guard Jokic, and they're going to take him away from the basket, which the Warriors didn't have somebody to do that very often. And when they did, they had success. They packed up the middle. They had Davis and they had LeBron clogging things up. I mean, I think they were like the Warriors in one of the games, 4 for 17 or something on their interior shots. It was all perimeter stuff. And you live and die with the perimeter shot. And so I think the Joker can put, because if he doesn't go out, the Joker will kill him because he can shoot the ball. So you got to go out and guard him. And now you got him. Now the thing's open. Guys are cutting, moving. He's throwing it inside, alley-oop dunks. I mean, the guy is a great basketball player. And it's like watching somebody play almost in slow motion. And he sees the game, I think, in slow motion. He's got such great court vision, makes some of the greatest passes, and he can go inside with his body, and he could cause a real problem for Davis, picking up some fouls and things inside. The versatility of the Joker is going to be a major factor in this game.
Am I right when I say when I watch him play, I see a bigger Bird?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, except Bird was a little bit more athletic than he was. Yeah. I mean, but Bird wasn't a super great athlete. You know, he wasn't a LeBron James or guys of that nature. So that's a pretty decent analogy. Yeah, a bigger, smart, unbelievable guy who can pass the ball, shoot the ball, do the things you need to do, but also have the ability to go inside and use his size inside. So he can be inside, he could be mid-range, and he could shoot the 3. I mean, come on.
Don't you agree a guy like that, and this is what you were saying, I'll ask you I got one last question after this, but isn't that the real key when you're looking at greatness? One, hey, look, if I'm going to take your big man away from the box, and you have to defend me. You know, like you said, Golden State couldn't do that with Draymond Green because Draymond's not consistent enough outside, nor did they have the size, but he's going to pull your big man. And that helps you so much out in rebounding, taking your top rebounder route that has to guard that guy. To me, that's a hidden gem. Like you say, what he does, not even having the ball, Rick, right? He takes your big man out from under the boards.
Oh, he creates a major problem for any team, you know, having to guard him. I mean, if you've got a big guy that's protecting the rim for you, the only other thing they could do is what they can, and that's a decision that's going to have to be made is, you know, do you put LeBron on him or do you put somebody else? I mean, he's a mismatch,
right, Rick?
Yeah, he's a tough matchup. I mean, he's an impossible matchup basically because he can hurt you from every area, inside, mid-range, outside, and on top of it, he's a spectacular passer, not a good passer, a spectacular passer. This guy, I mean, it's crazy to watch him. I mean, you see some of these other people doing it, but the Joker is so much fun to watch. Two of my favorite players to watch, Steph Curry and the Joker. Love watching both of those guys play.
Final question for you. If you're Philadelphia, do you blow out Daryl Morey and Doc Rivers to go in a different direction?
You know, I don't ever get to the point to say somebody should be fired and doing anything. It doesn't, you know, that's not my point. I mean, I don't know all the intricacies. I'm not there. I don't know how the team is relating to them. You have to see what the reaction is. Has Doc lost the team? I don't know. I mean, I don't know that. I mean, that's a decision that has to be made internally. You know more. They know more about that. And though I'm sure they're going to bring the players in and have interviews with them and talk to them about it. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? I mean, they put together a nice team. They made a really nice run. Yeah, you know, they have a very good basketball team. There's no question about it. They just happen to run into a better basketball team.
Rick, tell folks what you're working on. You work on a ton of stuff. I appreciate you always coming aboard. What are you working on, man?
Well, stuff. You go medicilleaf.com, medicilleaf.com, gosleeves.com, GOSLEEVES.com. And then you also can go to AloeMD, ALOEMD.com. And every one of those you can use my initials, RB, small letters, 24. RB24 is a code to get a discount. Check them out. Cannabinoid products, sleeves for your knees, for your Achilles, for your elbows, and then also an aloe product that's amazing that's got cannabinoids in it as well. So check them out. Get the IDs. I use the products myself on a regular basis. I never play pickleball without my Go sleeves on, and I never play without putting on my Aloe MD or some of my Medicinal Leaf products. I mean, they're keeping an old guy like me moving along.
Absolutely. Rick, thank you so much. We'll catch up real soon. Thank you, my
Take
friend.
care. See you, Dan.
You got it. The great Rick Barry, the you. Absolutely, my friend. Love talking basketball with Rick Barry. I'll reset my takes on the top 32 teams. Please hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
This is Governor Ed Rendell urging you to vote for my friend Judge Pat Dugan for Superior Court. I appointed Judge Dugan in 2007 to the Philadelphia Municipal Court, where he now serves as its president judge. Pat is a proud Army veteran of 23 years. He served 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's also recommended by the Philadelphia Bar Association. But most importantly, he bleeds Eagles green and hates those Dallas Cowboys. So get out and vote for number 3, Judge Pat Dugan for Superior Court.
Paid for by Dugan 2023.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Mike Stills, National Football Show. Appreciate you all coming aboard. I'm going to reset here. By the way, real quick. So he believed that Doc didn't utilize Embiid right. And, you know, the big guys today in the NBA, and Anthony Davis falls into this. He does the same shit. He gets out on the perimeter. How could you be 7-1 and not play like a big man? You play like Steph Curry. And I think both guys fall into that. All right. I'm going to reset because we got Rick jumping aboard with us. And what I'm doing, I stopped at Dallas, but I'm going to reset here. I put together a list of the 32 teams that I think after the draft and free agency that I think how their season is going to look. So I'm going to recap, and I got all the way down to Dallas. So I'll reset from one, and that was Arizona. I said that I believe Arizona is going to go 4-13. I think they could be the worst team in the league this year. I got Atlanta 10-7. Desmond Ridder. But I do think Bijan Robinson was a great sign, and I think they've done some nice things on offense. I like the kid Pitts from Florida. I like them. Baltimore, 11-6. I think Lamar's going to put together an MVP-type season. I think he's going to play great. I can't wait to see Odell Beckham and him, too. I got Buffalo at 12-5. That's a how you doing game for Jalen. Better show up, son. Carolina 9-8. Probably a little bit more biased because, you know, I love Frank. Chicago 6 wins, 6-11. Cincinnati, I think, is the team to beat in the AFC this year. I think the Bengals. As of right now, May 15th, I would say Bengals in the Super Bowl. Cleveland 10-7. Then the boys, the Cowboys, 11-6. Woo. What if they sweep Philly this year? Can't lose to Dak, son. Can't lose to Dak. If Dak wins 2 games against Philly, do you understand that he'll be 10-3 versus the Eagles if he wins all 2 games against Philly this year? He'll be 10-3 in his career. Well, I would say that that's ownership papers that you deserve to get a key fob to the NovaCare Center. If Dak wins 2 games, he'll be 10-3 versus the Eagles. And you would have to start doing this. Mr. Prescott, you get your own private parking space. Yeah, we're taking it from Jalen. You get your own parking space. What kind of food would you like there at the cafeteria? Lobster? Shrimp? What do you want, Mr. Prescott? Anything you need. And by the way, we're going to make a nameplate for you too. And it's going to be engraved in the ground that says Dakota Prescott. Dak spot. Yeah. What if Dak? Woo! If Dak wins 2 games, he's 10-3 all time versus Philly. Not a good look, I would think. Denver, I got them at 10-7. I think they have some type of rebound. AFC's packed, though, especially the AFC West. Nope, won't happen. Okay, that's wishful thinking. Okay, so let's put this list together more haphazardly. That's no way. Okay, guy. Whatever. Yeah, I'll tell you what hasn't been put together haphazardly. Dakota Prescott's resume against the Eagles. That ain't haphazardly put together. That's actually systematically put together. How you doing? Oh, ooh, damn. What was that? I felt something funny. Ooh. Yeah, hey, this year could be this if you're the Eagles with the Cowboys improving so much. Ooh, what was that? Did I get a prostate check? Holy cow, I got a Dak Prescott checkup. You don't want the Eagles to have a Dak Prescott checkup. No way. That might hurt. Hey, what happened to Jalen? Well, he had a Dak Prescott checkup. Man, you know, doctor has to put the rubber glove on for that one. Don't let Dak have to put the rubber glove checkup on Jalen. 2 wins makes him 10-3. How you doing? Shit, you haven't beaten him since 17 or 19. He's 7-1 since 17. Dumbass can't even troll right. Troll? What? See, here's a guy right here. Dumbass can't even troll right. Well, wait a minute. So you what? You don't like the facts? No, here, I'll lie. Hey, no. The Eagles have an 8-3 record versus Dak. Here, because I know you want to be lied to. Yeah. Hurts will beat Prescott? Well, let me know when that happens. Yeah. You know, he beat Cooper Rush. How you doing? Ooh. Oh. Damn, I hate rubber gloves. Not good. I got Detroit at 10-7. Marina goes, it's led to nothing, though, Sills. Oh, wait. What's Jalen done? Oh, that's right. He got to a Super Bowl because now you guys want to use the Super Bowl appearance. I was talking earlier about Lamar. What has he won with the MVP? He hasn't got to the Super Bowl. Okay, I see how it works. You pick and choose which guy you want to drop that on, that Super Bowl appearance. That's a team award, not a quarterback award or an accomplishment. Jimmy Garoppolo's got the same accomplishment. So does Colin Kaepernick. So does Trent Dilfer. They went to Super Bowls. Shit. Actually, Wentz got one and won one. Green Bay. I got them at 5-12. I think they're going to blow too. Houston, 6-11. Little better. Little better. Indy, 4-13. Couldn't happen to a better owner. Jacksonville. I think the AFC Championship game is Jacksonville versus Cincinnati. You want to be candid. I got them at 12-5. Right now, if you told me, Sills, what do you like for the AFC Championship game? Jacksonville, Cincy? Who would have thought that in my lifetime, that Jacksonville and the Bengals would face one another in an AFC title game? Two teams for a freaking 1,000 years have sucked. Could actually be the best teams in the AFC. Unreal. Never would have ever believed that. KC, 14-3. Good night. And winning them 14 wins is the Eagles. Vegas, 7-10. Kind of better with Jimmy G. The Rams. I'll get Rams 10-7. I think they bounce back kind of. The Chargers, 9-8. Miami, 9-8. Tua, never know. Minnesota, 9-8. New England, 9-8. Does Miami Hurricanes have the most Hall of Famers? I think Southern Cal does. New Orleans, 7-10. The Gigantes, 9-8. They still suck. The Jets, 10-7. Sorry, Jody. Fireman Ed, Aaron Rodgers, and Joe Namath. Not going to cut it. Hey. See Jody and Fireman Ed. I saw the Eagles got predicted 10-7 by CBS. They're just trying to rile your ass up. I got Philly at 11-6. How you doing? Pittsburgh 9-8. The San Francisco 49ers 12-5. Xander goes 12-5. San Francisco too. Them and the cheeseheads and the Merlot drinkers. I got Seattle 9-8. Bucks, the greatness of Baker Mayfield, 5-12. The Titans 6-11. And the Commandos at 6-11. The Washington condoms or whatever. Commandos, commanders, whatever. Yeah, sure, anything. Whatever you want to publicly make it correct, I don't care anymore. Washington, the Washington Wokers. If you want to go there, that's fine too. Anything to make you happy. You can name them anything you want. The Washington Wokers. Sure. And the Washington, anything you want. I don't care. Brian goes, Dan, you need 6 hours. Don't do that to me, man. Because Xander's already doing something. I mean, six. I'm going to be quiet, okay? Hey, Merrill Reese is going to join us tomorrow. We're going to get his thoughts. He was playing golf last week, and I was trying to get him on the program. He's like, oh, my God. And so he wants to come aboard with us tomorrow. So we're going to talk to the legendary voice of the Philadelphia Eagles. That'll be tomorrow. Big Joe, thank you. Xander, always awesome, brother. Appreciate you doing this. God bless all of you. Don't forget 3 to 6 tomorrow. We will see you tomorrow and catch you on the flip side.